we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
If you're in the chat room, along with our special guest, Sean Austin, you may recognize him from Paranormal Television, and we're in for a great show tonight. Before we bring these guys on, let us say hello to everyone who is here in our chat room tonight. Nightmare in the gold medal position, Race Fan in the silver, Mr. Lurks-a-Lot takes home a bronze, Logan L., the gorgeous Cosmic Floor, Mama Susan, Ann B., Yay, Awesome Ann Palmer, good to see you all. Kevin, how you doing tonight? Thank you for joining us. There is Mark Longoria. Good to have you here. Thurston Howell III. Good to have you here. Thurston, by the way, will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Moving on here. Gorgeous Kathy Evans. How are you? Obi Flett, nice to see you. So we continue on with our roll call. Roy the Boy, Mennonite Abe, the gorgeous Nikki, Dutch Hank. How are you all? Thank you for coming on in. And there's Stephen Edmond rolling out the Merles nice and early. That's the way we do it around here. Black Dragon, Semper Fi to you. He's our favorite Marine, and we love all of our veterans who listen to this show. Manitoba Becky, looking gorgeous tonight. They call her the Wheat Queen in Brandon, of course. And who else do we have here? Another good Merling right there from Obi Flett. And there's lovely Laura. How are you? Good to have you. My Chess, welcome to SOR Chat. Acryong, how you doing? Acryong, by the way, will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, Moving forward here with roll call, the gorgeous Liliopatra, Robert Garcia. How are you, my friend? The lovely Aunt Edna, the gorgeous Jenny Whitebear, Brown Dwarf. Nice to have you all here. Richard Elmore, thank you for joining us. Philip Baca is here. The Philip Baca. There he is. Shane, welcome to SOR Chat. Good to have you here. Amy Vegas. Oh, I will see you in hours from now. Hours. Yeah, I'm so excited. You're looking good tonight, by the way. The gorgeous Anne Celine. Oh, there he is, everyone. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived. All right, moving on. Cecil, how you doing, buddy? And Chastity, welcome to SOR Chat. Thank you for joining us. Uncle Dale and his Power Stash are here. If you see Uncle Dale down in Austin, Texas, rub his Power Stash for good luck right through tax time. And, of course, who else do we have here? Sweet Donna C. Good to see you. And Brown Dwarf, I already said you. But Shano likes his Merling. Dragon L, how are you? River Dogma, we'll see you in a few hours. And who else are we going here? Oh, there's Doug Shelby again. Far Flung, good to see you. Liliopatra again. Carfunibre. Hey, he's number 13 in your program, number 1 in your hearts from... let's see. Kladno. No, that's the Czech Republic. We got to go Sweden here. Let's say, let's go boring. Stockholm, Sweden. Number 13 in your program, Lars Janssen. Hey, Ron, how you doing? Good to have you here. And we're ready to go. We got like a minute. And I want to remind you, everyone, the Super Chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So check it on out if you don't mind. And let's see here. What else do we have? Good show for you tonight. Yeah. Do a little shopping at the SOR Vault. check out our swag. It's always good. Sorry. Vegas on the mind. Vegas. Oh, tax time is over. Guess we can't use Uncle Dale in that. We'll figure out something for next week. Of course, we got 30 seconds to go. Our man Merle is here. Sean Austin, paranormal investigator extraordinaire. He's wearing a very nicely tight black ball cap tonight. And, he may tip it for you. He may tip it. We'll see if we can get him to do that tonight. And, of course, we're going to have a good time. And for all of you joining us in Vegas this weekend, be safe in your travels. I'm leaving here right after the show and making the drive down to Vancouver. And we're going to get ready for a good time. Merle it up in the chat room, people. I need more Merle love as we get ready to start tonight's show. Horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Odyssey Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do us a favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a great show for you tonight. We get all ghostly with our main man Merle and Ghosts of the Great White North. Sean Austin is our special guest tonight. We will get into that momentarily. Then in hour number 3, we have our good friend Swamp Dweller sharing another spooky story from the swamp. And, of course, the fedora-wearing John Hudson will be by with the UFO report. Shirky Poo has the news. As you know, our main man Merle from the Paranormal Road Trippers out of Vancouver, British Columbia, joins us once a month for Ghosts of the Great White North. This is where we take a tour around the world, checking out all of the great hauntings and ghostly encounters that happen. Now, we don't do a lot of paranormal on this show. This is why we have Merle break it on down. And, of course, he has a great guest for us tonight. Joining us is Mr. Sean Austin. Now, you may know Sean from a lot of different television shows because this dude is literally all over the place. He's a very talented musician. He's a singer, songwriter, and you know what? He's just one of those guys that just envelopes what it is to be a paranormal investigator. And he has been on television shows such as Destination America, The Demon Files, and many, many more. And his goal, to try and find out what's happening and communicating with the other side. We bring in our main man Merle and Sean Austin from Ghost Television, Paranormal Television. Gentlemen, welcome back to Spaced Out Radio.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you guys for having me.
Sean, you're looking good with that ball cap, man. Looking good with the ball cap. It's been a few years, Sean, since you've actually been on the show. I mean, I was looking back at the records, probably 6 years, man.
That's
6
crazy.
years. That's nuts. But you've blown up into one of those big name paranormal peeps now.
You know, trying to keep busy with what I'm passionate about doing, and obviously the paranormal is front and center. So, you know, just constantly out there being doing backstrokes and the weird and the unexplained.
Very true. And our man Merle, how you been doing, buddy?
I'm doing very well, Dave. Been very busy. Been looking forward to the show, and I actually have a ghost hunt next weekend road trip, which I'm preparing for now.
I know. Merle decided, just for our listeners to know, he decided to say, screw you, Spaced Out Radio listeners. I'm not coming to Vegas because I'm going to drive by Dave's house and go up to Barkerville with her good friend Jacob Rice to go hang out with the ghosts in a haunted town. He didn't want to go haunt Vegas. He wanted to go haunt Barkerville.
That's not true. That's not how it went down, Dave. It's not how it went down.
Oh, well, you know what? I can't wait. I'm going to try and drive up there and see you guys and spend a night with you guys up there. Merle, tell us a little bit about Sean here. What makes you guys, cohorts in ghost hunting?
Been following him on Instagram, and I just like, he knows Ross and he knows Dave Weatherly. He's been on a couple. He's been on the Beast of, I can never say the word. It's a Canadian thing. Say it for me.
Bladenborough.
There we go.
That was the way you would stumble over that.
Yeah, always. And then the Amityville, the research as well, and a lot of people who have, because Discovery Plus is new up in Canada. We've had it for less than 6 months, maybe 3 to 4 months. So everything on there is like sense overload. And I discovered Ghost Loop and the Demon Files on there, and I saw you on the Demon Files, which I think is a cool show. And I enjoyed Ghost Loop, so I'm like, well, let's have a chat with Sean and talk about that stuff. And I learned that you're a psychic medium as well as a demonologist, and I want to pick your brain with that stuff too.
Sure.
Michael, explain Sean, explain how you got involved in the paranormal in this field. How did you fall in love with it?
Well, it was by accident, really. I tried to prove to a friend who's a skeptic that ghosts were real one night. Took him to a cemetery to have a lore of 3 women in white would chase you out of the cemetery. And in that process, I got my first EVP of a little girl, which I didn't even realize I had till the next night when I listened back to the recording from my old flip phone. And it was a defining moment for me when I realized that this little child of this girl responded to me. And it was, very freaky and scary, but exhilarating at the same time, to the point where, it sparked my interest. Even though I believed in ghosts, I guess I never thought about actually going out and doing it myself. I kind of just always knew it was there and watched the shows and believed the people, what they were saying. But actually 3 weeks later, corner of my bed, it was light out. I saw a shot of a little girl, and that's really how the journey started. And I started going out investigating just local cemeteries and places. And, even going out there, it's not like I'd ever look to be on any sort of TV show or ever think that this could be some sort of thing that would take me over, because music was my first passion. I would just go out there with the recorder and, an EMF meter or spirit box. And I just wanted to have the experience. But, obviously going out there and being more involved, and then someone asked me to be, a guest on a podcast. Next thing you know, they're asking me to be a host on a podcast. And that actually led me to meet Ralph Sarchie, who ended up being, my mentor in demonology, and then doing the Demon Files and continuously investigating throughout the years and publishing, 1 and 2 books, which actually David Weatherly published and co-wrote my books with me. And, going back on TV again and just constantly going out there and pumping out, documentaries and stories and bringing spiritual awareness to the world, and trying to help people living and the dead.
When did you know that you developed your psychic medium skill?
It was within the first year of investigating the paranormal that I realized that I was having a lot more experiences than your average person. Premonitions and strange things happen. At first I thought that my abilities, I was a little scared that a demonic entity was making me think that I was psychic, because during that time, because I was having experiences with dark energies around me, I was reading books on demonology, and the first books I was reading were Edna Ray Morin's book, the Demonologist, to John Zaviz's book, Shadows of the Dark, or Ralph Sarchie's book, which was at the time was called Beware the Night, and all these books and stuff, saying, where I was trying to I was soaking it up, everything, but with some of the dark experience I had, I didn't realize at the time I was having a spiritual awakening, and I was a little nerve-wracked that something was making me think, because I'm thinking, why would I all of a sudden have psychic abilities in the middle of my life? Because most of the time you hear about people just having it. It's been there since they were children. Even though there were omens and strange things that kind of did happen to me when I was a child, it was never this prevalent thing that stuck out and like, oh, I've had abilities since I was a kid. It was just like something just clicked. And I mean, and looking back at it, I realized that my acknowledgement to the spirit world actually opened me up, to this just flip of the switch where just things started to happen. And I'm still developing my abilities, and it's definitely crazy. I never thought this would happen to me. But, here I am, and I experience something paranormal pretty much every day of my life at this point.
Do you enjoy that? Do you enjoy being like a Kmart blue light special with a big blue light above your head that says, hey, ghost, come on over here. Let's have a chat. Old Sean is open for business.
There was definitely a few moments, even just involvement of the paranormal and the stuff starting to happen, where I definitely had a few times where I was just like, what the heck did I get myself into? A little feeling of being overwhelmed, but it is a calling. I do feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, and I'm trying to do that in the biggest impactful way possible. Obviously I don't mind spirits that are around trying to get my attention, that they're just looking for help, but that also comes with the dark stuff, and then helping people and stepping in the way of the adversary of man, which is the enemy of man, and that puts yourself in danger, and always looking for a crack in your aura to mess with you and in your life and stuff like that. So, and being sensitive makes you more prone and susceptible to some of their attacks, than your average person that even goes up and does this stuff or involves himself in demonology. So, I mean, it has its blessings and curses that come with it, but I know I'm destined, and I'm supposed to be doing this. So I'm just trying to take it on and be a part of it. And again, just make a difference in a positive manner and bring light to where it's not reaching, whether it's to an earthbound spirit or someone in a residential home or going through some sort of spiritual turmoil.
I want to ask you, because I know Ralph Sarchie has a very religious side to his paranormal investigation, and you, having worked with him, do you lean towards more of a religious spiritual side in dealing with the paranormal comparatively to many other investigators out there?
I do. I mean, the way I approach everything is how Ralph taught me, even though that's kind of like where I was gearing towards anyway. I was brought up Catholic, and, witnessing dark things come to me, I went right to specific prayers and things like that. And having these firsthand experiences, witnessing evil spirits react negatively of things of religious significance, brings my faith to a level of not believing in God. It's knowing God exists, because it's what's protecting me, and seeing this stuff time and time again, just prove it over and over again is just, that's why my faith is so strong, and I hold it to my heart and soul, and it's referenced typically wherever I go when I investigate.
So how does it change perspectives from other people who are investigators in the paranormal? What do you do differently, considering that you take a lot of your godly energy that you have? And I'm saying this as a God guy as well. But I also know that the paranormal includes all religions, all facets of beliefs, and everything that goes along those lines. But for you, how do you deal with it differently than say someone else? Well, take Merle, for instance, who, he's a Ukrainian, so you just can't trust them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Ukrainian too, so I just there.
Well, first of all, I think what's pretty individual for me is that, again, to bring up the word individual is that I like to get down on an individual level with the human spirits. When I go into a person's home, say for instance, in most cases, people may just do the investigation, and they kind of just send a bomb off to kind of displace every energy out of there immediately once they get some answers and stuff like that. And in some cases, in my experiences, that really doesn't help the situation. There'll still be some lingering energies, and in some cases we just can't solve the issue. It could be very layered, and there always will be some sort of activity going on in some locations. But when it comes to these earthbound spirits, getting down with them on an individual level and really trying to help them and give incentive for them to give to find peace for themselves and go towards the light, no matter what they went through and they endured in life, because that's really why a lot of them are here. It's some sort of the human element they have not been able to let go of, and they're consumed with it energetically, emotionally, spiritually, to the point where they may be lost within themselves. They may be scared of judgment because they weren't a great person in life, or there may be some sort of dark negative spirit that's actually holding them, keeping them in a lower vibrational emotional state, to the point where they're afraid to do anything. Someone's trying to control over them. So I've experienced this so many times. So I just see such a difference when you actually get to them on that individual acknowledgement level, to the point where they can actually have the best chance to actually transition and have that spirit move on, so that emotional energy doesn't stick around and affect the environment for the people that may be living in it.
Mm-hmm.
Merle.
I was going to say, how do you shut it off? Like the demonologist part and the psychic medium part. Like, I know you say that you have experiences almost every day. I'm in the same boat with that, with the experiences. How does Sean get quiet time? Like, if you're having a lot of spirits contacting you, especially sometimes dark ones and stuff like that, do you rely on God for protection, or do you use other forms as well?
I mean, absolutely. My protection prayers are number one. I'll bless my place. I mean, again, like over the years, I'd probably say towards the beginning, it's just like, when I just started to hear the words telepathically. Now, most of the words I hear during the day, it's not like, you'd hear that from someone. You're like, oh my God, you hear someone talking to you like I'm talking to you right now. And I mean, that would be really like, that's like, you want to throw yourself in a mental asylum. But like for me, most of the time, it's like a passing thought. So if you think about the word ghost, it's floating around in your head over and over again. If you keep thinking about it, that's really what I'm hearing. I'm hearing other words I'm not an antenna, and I'm picking up words from the spirits that are all around me, besides my own thoughts. So it's just kind of like you're hearing things, and I'm so accustomed to it now. So it's just a part of my life. So obviously, you have to learn how to try to keep it off, and maybe announce out loud that I don't want to communicate with anybody, because most of the point is that most of them are human souls. They're just trying to get acknowledgement and trying to get your attention. This is why they go towards children, because they're fresh from the spirit world, and they're all just desperately coming out. And a lot of us researchers in the paranormal field, we do believe that acknowledgement does give an energy to these spirits, and their connection to us and our us knowing that they're actually around makes them feel like they're alive still in the physical plane, because we can sense their energy, we can sense their presence, and that connectivity to who they were when they once lived in the physical plane somehow gives them the energy they're looking for. If it's not just some sort of voice that they're trying to convey or to release and have this emotion displace off themselves to the point where it can solve the issue or ultimately try to help them in the specific way they're looking for.
Very cool. Do you enjoy what you do? Is it fun for you still, or has it become a job?
No, I mean, it's my passion. And I mean, the paranormal is right there being a musician. I mean, it's like my left and right hand. It's my life every day. I mean, I feel like in some days too, like that I'm more, on the spiritual side than I really am on earth. It's, you have this separation of a lot of the things that go on in the it's so strange. I talk about this with my friends too. It's like one moment we're here in this like crazy dark location. We sit there for 8 hours, investigate this place. You come out of there and go right into this social environment and be around people. And it's like a different world, man, because you really put yourself in their world and you're really engaging it. You're a part of it, and your energy combines with their energy, and it's like it's such a fascinating thing. It's and that's why we all do what we do, because we're never going to have all the answers, but we can have little bits and pieces, and have these little puzzle pieces come to life, and just have a little bit more of a possible answer for you individually, and use those experiences to help others and bring spiritual awarenesses, whether you're doing podcasts or writing books or being on TV and speaking about it. So I'm humbled by all of it, and that's why it's good for us to come out and speak about it and share it with whoever needs to hear it.
We got about 4.5 minutes to go before we got to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Merle is here with Ghost of the Great White North and our special guest, Sean Austin. Sean, did you ever think that television would come calling? Was that the goal when you got started in this?
Never in a million years. Never in a million years. I like I said, I was going out with a recorder and a spirit box. I was so excited. Like when I got my first couple of EVPs on that first night ever, I mean, all I did was play it for every single person that was around me because I was so excited to know that this stuff was real, to know that after watching all these shows and believing in it, because I was obsessed with horror movies as a kid, and to have my first piece of evidence and just tell people the story, what happened to me, was so exciting to me. And just to conversate about it. And, you know, that's really how it happened. Like I was just invited on a podcast, and like the way I spoke about it, they were like, you have a true passion, you have a calling. And, you know, looking back at it, just about demonology, like even Ed Warren said, and most people say when it comes to true being a demonologist, is that it's a calling. The whole genre of the paranormal when it comes to demonology seems to be like the universe kind of opens up these doors, paths, circumstances, and experiences to the point where you're drawn to specific types of cases, types of hauntings and things like that. And that really was what it was for me. And also praying for spirits and helping the earthbound spirits has been a very strong recurring theme from the beginning of my journey when I wrote about that in my first book, and where I am today. And, you know, even like one of the documentaries that I released with ScareNetwork.tv, which we've been pumping out a bunch of documentaries and even more coming soon. Malefice, a true story of a demonic haunting, which Ralph is actually in. Probably my most proud paranormal film project I've ever been a part of. I mean, it's personal to me, and it's really about that. It's I crossed over 2 female spirits, and a demonic force was pissed off and wanted to take revenge against me. And I had to return back to this location to validate 5 years later, to validate what I experienced 5 years before, and to do an exorcism ritual in the house. It's a unique thing for me, but again, it's been a reoccurring theme about going out and helping spirits, not just people.
What do you really enjoy about this? Is it talking to the spirits? Is it communicating with what they want, how they feel, what they're still doing here?
I mean, I think it's a little bit of everything. You know, our perception of life is so, guided by our, habitat. You know, you go throughout life and everything's about the physical. You know, once you open yourself up to the reality of this other reality that's all around us, it changes things. I mean, all of it. When we have our last breath, the cat's out of the bag. It's not so special anymore. And that, again, that's why I think a lot of us are passionate about it, because it's not like we can just go out and be like, okay, this is the answer to everything. It's still based on our beliefs, our individual beliefs, whatever it may be, our faith, and what our opinions are about how these things take place and how the paranormal goes on, and these circumstances and all these people and what they say they experience. I mean, it's the whole package, really. It's so fascinating. But I think ultimately, and I want to make an impact, like, people, my predecessors, or someone like Ralph or the Warrens or something, like people who are pioneers of the paranormal field when there really weren't TV shows. They were going out there doing the work to really help the people, whether there was TV or not. I mean, and I just really respect, and I was always humbled to be around some of these people, I just want to pick their brains and just hear about it. It was so amazing to hear about so many stories of some of their cases, because I was reading the books of these people. Next thing you know, I'm around them, and just hearing about all this stuff, whether it's Ralph and Zaphis. It's just, I want to make an impact. I want to leave my mark and know that I did something good. And I think that's really what God has me on this journey for.
All right, gentlemen, we are going to get you to hold on right there as we're quickly through the first half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. It's Ghost of the Great White North, our main man, Merle, hanging on out with us from the Paranormal Road Trippers in Vancouver, and from the television series Ghost Loops, Sean D. Austin, at Sean D. Austin on Twitter. He wears a good ball cap, people. You never go wrong with a guy who wears a good ball cap. Believe you me, my head's just too big right now. I'm saying fat in order to wear a ball cap, so I'm a little jealous. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. All right, gents, we're clear for 5.
That's a quick half hour.
Hugely quick. Look at Sean just taking that jet off, that paranormal jet, and just flying right to touchdown there. Flying right to touchdown.
Yeah.
Dave, what's the first thing you're going to do when you land in Vegas?
I'm going to get my hotel room, and I'm going to go shower.
Are you driving down after this show through the mountains?
I am leaving my house probably at 1 a.m. So I'll get done on the show here on YouTube about 12:36, 12:37, and then I'll shut everything down, unplug my laptop, my cameras, and whatever else I have to unplug, and pack it up in my backpack, and then slowly start to make the trek down. I won't be able to hit a Tim Hortons until Hope because they're closed up here.
May the odds be in your favor.
Oh my God.
Next year I'll come to Vegas.
12th, 13th, 14th of May.
Okay.
Was there a paranormal conference going on down there? Or?
No, we're having a fan party.
No, nice.
Yeah, we're having a fan party, and we got like 54 of our fans joining us down there.
Very cool.
It's going to be awesome. And it's the first time we've done this, and there's already people asking if they can come next year, so we are going to do it next year, and we may hold a one-day conference there next year. We may. And then what we'll do is we're going to kind of just take little sections, like have one big speaker at the night and big names to come through the day, and then just say, look, any other names, like Sean, if you weren't speaking but you wanted to attend, you're kind of a name in the field, you'd be able to get in for free because you're a guest on the show and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of how we're going to work it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. So I think it'll be good.
Yeah.
What do all your fans have in store for this week coming up, Dave?
Well, the ones that are coming to Vegas, they're coming to Vegas. And they're going to hang out with us. They're going to have fun. And, we don't have anything like planned per se. Okay. Like there's nothing that outside of our live show that we're going to do on YouTube, there's nothing that that we're doing that's fully scheduled. So if the fans want to go, downtown and go on the main strip, or because we're doing it at the Golden Nugget, or they want to go hang out by the pool, or they want to play poker, they can do whatever they want.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be cool. I may zip line down Fremont. Yeah, I may do that.
You gonna do that?
I may.
Good.
I want to always do that one through Whistler, man.
I'm too chicken to zip line.
Why?
I don't know. Not my thing. Maybe I'll try it one day.
Mm-hmm.
Sean, next half hour, I want to go into the path that led you to be a demonologist.
Okay.
Very curious.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Super Knower, if you win all the money, you're buying a round. That's all I'm saying. Oh, that's a good sip. Listen to that.
That's
Holy
a
cow.
strong sip.
That is That is a manly sip right there. Holy cow.
I'm going to get my amount of water I need daily sip.
Oh, yeah. That was at least 2 gallons right there. At least 2 gallons sip. All right. A big thank you to Dragon Ale, Ghostly, Samantha, Michael, and Bones for the amazing super chats. Very much appreciate the love and support. Thomas, thank you as well. Love and support, man. We really do appreciate everything you guys do for us here at Spaced Out Radio. All the veterans out there, thanks for the love. Here we go, everyone. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with Ghosts of the Great White North as we are hanging on out with our good friend from the television show Ghost Loops, Sean D. Austin. We're getting all paranormal tonight. Merle, take it away, buddy.
Sean, how did you get into being a demonologist?
Well, since the beginning of my experiences and having these dark experiences, I was reading books on demonology. So when I was asked to be on a podcast, and I guess people took notice to this, and they were telling me I had a calling to be involved in demonology, but it was never something that I asked for. It was kind of just like my interest. And then because of my experiences, it was gearing me towards that. And what ended up happening is that I had my own podcast, and I invited Ralph to come on the show, and ended up being on the phone with him for 2 hours before the show. And after the show, he asked me if I wanted to come on some cases with him. So I obviously, I was humbled that he asked me to come on some cases. And, it was right before the movie Deliver Some Evil came out. And, that was right then and there. I was right then and involved in going on, demonic type cases. And then ended up being on the Demon Files. So then I was already incorporated into taking that to the next level. But I never thought myself in like, all right, I mean, I wasn't like on a mission, like, okay, I want to call myself a demonologist. I was just like, okay, it feels like I'm supposed to be involved in this work. And that's obviously what they call it, the work. Mm-hmm. And being involved in these types of cases. But it wasn't until, years later, as I was doing cases the way that Ralph told me and taught me how to approach it to help people, that, one day he just told me, Sean, you're a demonologist. Because I never knew that I would, what do I need to do to deserve that title? And when he even told me, I still felt uncomfortable calling myself that. I'm like, do I deserve this title? But, in the end, I mean, someone of Ralph's stature, because, I mean, if he's telling me I'm a demonologist, then I guess I'm a demonologist. Like, so, obviously I just have been continuously doing what, Ralph has taught me when it comes to approaching the cases and stuff like that. So that's where I'm at today with everything else that's happened in between.
Fair enough. What sorts of dark experiences did you have?
Gosh, where do I start? I mean, when I have so many, when I first started to realize I had abilities, I had this black hooded thing trying to choke me in bed. And I remember what it said to me. It was like saying the transformation in a really creepy voice. And I really didn't know what that meant. And, looking back at it, I realized that I was going through a spiritual awakening, and obviously being a novice about this process that was going on, this thing wanted to take advantage of that and try to induce fear within me during that transformation, so to speak. I mean, but I've seen the worst of the worst, man. Hooves, tails, red eyes, yellow glowing eyes, red face, black horns, reptilian things, children with black eyes. I mean, whatever you can think of, I've pretty much probably seen it. Um, so I've been accustomed to a lot. Yeah. So again, being sensitive and then being involved in demonology, it's kind of like it's a double whammo right there.
What was it like having an encounter with black-eyed children?
Well, it's kind of interesting. Well, I can tell you, it's actually one that sticks out to me is actually having to do with the Annabelle doll. So I went to an event where they had the Annabelle doll, and I was live streaming just in front of the doll so people could watch. At the time, I was using Periscope, and that was the thing. The lock from the case that holds Annabelle came unloose, and Dan, who is senior lead investigator on Nesper, which is the Warren's old team name, he went up to, he's like, did you see that? I'm like, I don't know if that's supposed to happen, man. And it was kind of weird and whatever, just brush it off. But we were kind of all talking about it. That was a little weird how that came on loose. So it was a Saturday of a weekend, and Sunday night I had this vision of this child, black with dark hair, with black eyes, fangs, and saliva coming out of her mouth, and she was like floating next to my bed, left and right, and doing that, and just reached out and grabbed me in the neck. Woke up with the chills at 3:00 in the morning. Now, mind you, because of all the creepy places that I go and investigate and do research or any cases, and I never know where any of this crap can come from. But not until I went to Gettysburg about 2 days later. I was in the bloodiest battle area at Devil's Den, and I was live streaming again, and right through the box it said in a row, and it said Annabelle Nightmare upstairs. And at the time I was sleeping upstairs, and it just clicked in my head. I'm like, oh my God, I think that was from Annabelle. Why that was just weird. So then I thought to go back on the video from the live stream, and during the live stream you hear this little girl say, "See you in your bedroom," and you hear this growl. So I thought that was really validating my experience even further. And then when I spoke to Dan, he said it's really strange because that night we brought the case back to the Warren Museum, and the St. Michael medal on the case that was holding the lock closed was picked up and thrown across the museum. So this is another thing that had all taken place, and somehow I had this experience, and having references to Annabelle follow me afterwards was, that was incorporated with this child with the black eyes. Yeah. And that video's on my YouTube and my TikTok if you want to watch it.
Yes. Do you find that you're susceptible to being followed by things, or darker things are attracted to you, like still?
I'm just pretty much on the set of the music video Thriller by Michael Jackson 24/7. That's just the way it is.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I'm accustomed to so much. I'm like, I always tell people, I feel like the only thing I haven't done right now is taking a ride on Falcor's Back from the Neverending Story, because it's just ridiculous at this point.
Yeah. Now, being a demonologist, what is for people that are watching or listening, what is the process of, like, they call a demon, why do they call a demonologist into investigation, and what is your job there?
Well, I mean, in a lot of cases, typical, your average paranormal group will go in there and do an investigation, but a lot of teams kind of veer away from that sort of thing. They don't know how to handle it. And people are a little apprehensive of dealing with it. So, obviously a demonologist would know about the characteristics of these types of hauntings, and to actually validate whether or not they're dealing with a demonic infestation in a house, or if it's something even further, or like a psychological attack, like an oppression, and rarely obviously would be possession. But, that's where they would bring someone like that in to see, if that's truly what was going on in a home and what the people were experiencing.
Are you able to talk about one of your wildest cases where you had to do an exorcism or dealt with demons? Like a couple cool stories of that.
Well, I mean, there's a documentary that we put on scarenetwork.tv too, is another documentary that we had put out in this past year that I wrote about in my second book. Was one of the craziest for me too, and it involved a girl who was pregnant while she was possessed, and it was just very harrowing, just emotional, just horrific. I mean, it was like a movie. what this girl was experiencing. And actually, I experienced stuff too. And then the recordings I have of her on the phone, because this girl was states away from me, and she would be calling me every day. And this is before I became a demonologist, but I was learning about it. And I was just talking to Ralph and learning and stuff like that. And this girl like latched on to me. And then I just started documenting things on the phone, because no one wanted to touch this case with a 10-foot pole, is because this girl's, she's pregnant with a child. Because if you try to help this girl and something happens to the child, you're in a scenario kind of like the movie The Exorcism of Emily Rose, where in the true story, Annalise, you know, her own family and the priest were charged with negligent homicide. So, you know, no one wants to go near something like that. But, you know, I felt emotionally invested in feeling bad for this girl. I wanted to do everything I could to help her. And in that process, I just experienced so much. And I did document a lot of crazy things that did happen. That's in that documentary. I mean, she would be carving upside down cross on her pregnant belly, to speaking English backwards. And I have these recordings. And another defining moment for me when it comes to my faith is because of this case. I have a crucifix about 6 inches tall, and you know, I have her on the phone, and she's speaking like a man, like even though she's a 23-year-old girl, and she's saying, "Sean, she's mine." And she can't see me on the phone, and I put the cross right up to the phone, and as soon as I did, she hissed at me.
Oh, geez.
And you know, it's just one of those moments, just like, oh, here we are again. So why is something evil like that reacting to something like that, you know, in this circumstance? And it can't even see me, and I am thousands of miles away.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And I have that recording of the hiss too when it happened.
Do you have a lot of these spirits follow you around from location to location?
Oh yeah, big time. Yeah, big time. Big time. Yeah, no, it's not just a bad thing too, because when I go to dark places, you're going to get dark stuff coming through. And my experience when I go to these places that actually have portals, if it has an open portal, with all different types of diversified spirits can come in and out of, you know, and it's a dark place, I all of a sudden will have references to a lot of the evil that I've dealt with at other locations coming through this one, you know, place out of nowhere, and it'll start coming through, because that energy attracts that type of energy and allows negative energy to have different types of energy come through. And you know, I definitely deal with that sort of thing. But, you know, on the lighter side is that because I believe, because of the high level of respect I give to spirits and trying to help them and always try to pray for them. And even though I can't cross over all these spirits, and I can't definitively prove that I've crossed over spirits. But, you know, that's why I try to validate that. And, you know, that's the only thing we can do is to have that intent and try to have some evidence to lean towards that notion. But, you know, these spirits, that they see that I respect them, they linger around me, they hang around me, and I actually feel like they're almost like friendly guardian spirits, like spirit guides, if you will. And they'll come through, they're still earthbound, and they'll speak through the box, and they'll warn me about things that are there. They'll speak to me psychically, and they'll give me information. They're almost like kind of like a team effort. And going to some of these locations, they follow me. So you have a good element, and obviously some of that dark element that can come through. But it's you know, it's an interesting ride, to say the least.
Totally. How do you shake the attachments?
You know, I've been oppressed before, man. It's no walk in the park. I mean, I do know when things try to, you know, reach in, and we all have those moments in our life where things are a little bit overwhelming and can get really shitty. And in those moments, these things know to come at you, because there's no conception of time. And I always even said from the beginning of this, these things know when, you know, you're going to have a bad day. They know it's going to be a bad time in your life. So they're going to sit there and be like, okay, now let's try to egg this on. Let's try to push it and amplify those emotions to the point where they, you know, they'd really suffer and get energy from you and cause as much chaos as they can. So, and again, me being sensitive, you know, that, you know, I really got to be on guard in those situations, because I'm constantly going out and I do these investigations, and these things are always around, lurking and looking for a way, for a crack in your aura, you know, really just doing a proper cleanse of yourself, and, you know, blessing my place. I mean, I bless my place wherever I'm living all the time because of all the places I go. But again, being sensitive and all the constant investigations I go, it's just like things still do happen. It's just a part of it. But again, that's why it's so important to have that knowledge of how these things can attack you, because a lot of people watch movies and they watch shows and they think, okay, a scratch, furniture is going to fly across the the room or something like that. No. The most delicate nature of the paranormal is the psychological attacks that they try to come at you from the shadows, and they do not want to expose themselves from what their devious, malicious plans are. So they want to kind of egg it on, whenever you're feeling pissed off or really depressed or sad about something, and they try to blow it up. They try to throw psychological gasoline on a fire to the point where it's so unbearable to ultimately, you want to do something stupid or, indulge in drinks or whatever it is, or want to hurt yourself, hurt others. So, that's the part that's so important, to be objective about some of your emotions and your thoughts, because this is how they can influence you if they have the ability to do that to you.
Yeah. That's like when I do my investigations, it's nothing but respect from me and my team. Our goal is we want to go in, we want to be the voice. Some spirits, they still have messages they want to give to loved ones or to whoever. We don't go in to stir the pot. We don't go in to be like, show yourself, bro, knock 3 times. But that's not, I think that's flirting with disaster. Oh, sorry, Dave.
Come on, Merle. Bro isn't a proper term for ghost hunting. Come on, bro, ghost.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
Being oppressed. What was that like? What happened?
Well, it's in my book. So the first time, when that went on, someone coerced me to play with the Ouija board, and I was at a place in Ohio, and I ended up at Bobby Mackey's, and I felt like I was going into a trance. And by the time I came home from the trip, weird things started to happen to me, and to the point where I was waking up like 5 o'clock in the morning, and it felt like as if I was watching my family like burn alive, and I'd be pacing up and down the stairs. I couldn't sleep. I felt like I was being stabbed all over my stomach. Like, It was so unbearable. It was trying to make me suicidal, and I was gravitating and going off to the cemetery by myself and sitting there by myself, even in the dark. And I would be smelling like rotting flesh, and I'd be just recording EVPs and hearing voices saying hail to this demon and hail to that demon. I would be driving my car. I just felt like I couldn't breathe. It was so bad, man. There's some people that wouldn't be able to handle that sort of thing. It's very, very painful and very, tough, to say the least. But I realized what was happening to me, and I was looking up about spiritual attack, and I was just like, I looked up this whole grounding thing that I did. I did this visualization of white light around me and this whole thing. And right after I did this, I saw this red glowing ball fly off me and fly out the window. And I just said, mother effer. I was like, they got me. And within a day or two, I felt like I was, back to normal. But I know that God let me go through that to have a deeper understanding of what people go through. And I always bring the comparison up to kind of like a drug addict to a drug counselor. And the drug counselor used to be a drug addict. These two people can actually relate because they were in that bottomless pit. They've been in that dark place, and they can actually help each other, and help that drug addict that's still, being there. And, obviously going on cases and seeing a lot of people that are being oppressed and be like, dude, I've been there. I know what this is like, and this is what you got to do to try to get yourself out of it. So, and that, I think that's all part of it. We go through this stuff in the paranormal, and it doesn't have to be paranormal at all. It's all aspects of life. Life is not about being perfect. It's about learning through struggle. And if we truly understood that notion, I think we'd be able to endure some of the obstacles that life does throw at us, whatever, genre that is, spiritually or not.
Paranormal investigating teams, it's huge now. I think everybody knows a paranormal investigator now. That's a thing. What advice do you give a lot of teams, especially the ones just going out there to stir the pot? Because you clearly have seen a lot of bad things and what the afterlife is capable of.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's like, I live stream a lot. I love the fact that people can watch without any editing, to a show. They can sit there and have that experience as if they're there with you. And especially for me and how I approach the paranormal, and I pray for spirits, and I'll pray for spirits, and whoever wants to watch me and how I do things and enjoy that and feel like they're gravitating towards that and they feel they're drawn to that, that's great. Whether it's one person or many people, I feel like I'm making a difference. And when I pray for spirit and see in the chat, there's like 100 amens coming through. It's like, I think that's a positive thing. And, obviously, with all social media and all of the technological advances when it comes to, making videos and how quick people can blow up and get millions of dollars from getting attention, and seeing how many people fake videos and just completely obliterating the people like ourselves that are passionate about this and really spend the time. And we know that, like, every video that you post isn't going to have like, furniture flying and silverware flying all over the place. But I see it all over TikTok too. And then people tag me in people's videos and stuff like that. Oh, they need help. And I see some of these videos and I'm just like, and like, you never hear from these people. These people, like, oh yeah, they want your help. You might hear like one little like blip from them. You never hear from them again, because if they truly wanted help, they'd reach out to someone like me, I mean, but their videos are getting millions of views now, and they're probably getting money in the bank. And, in the end, if they don't have the intent to get rid of what they want in their house, I mean, it wouldn't matter if I turn their freaking house into a church. It ain't going nowhere. So, that's the whole thing too. It's just like the intent is such a prevalent element in the paranormal field. Subconsciously, when you go into any location, and how the spirits react to you or the dark energies and how they'll try to attack you. I mean, you cannot hide behind your thoughts. You are in trouble if you have this type of intent, and they will use that to manipulate the situation to their advantage, whether it's not today, tomorrow, next month, or years from now. So, it's frustrating to see like all this, these kids going out there, but they're also being guided by, the temptation of just wanting to get a big video and money. And because of Hollywood being kind of melded into the spiritual community, it's like we have all the characteristics as if we're just actors and actresses competing with each other to get on, a movie or a TV show. I mean, it's literally what we feel like, because every average Jane or John Doe thinks they could have one haunted location or one video, and like, here I am, I'm a star. And that's why we deal with a lot of the crap that goes on with people, competing with each other, backstabbing each other, and all the dramas and stuff, and all the things I hear about, and all the things I try to avoid. And people talk bad about me too. I mean, like, even people that were friends of mine too, that I had to walk away from. Like, it's sad. I just try to do what I do and make a difference with what I can in the environment that I can. It's kind of like politics. It's like, I sit here, I could complain about all the things that I'm upset about, but in the end, it's like pissing in the wind. It's like, I want to be able to make a difference in my life around me. It's like, and that's the things I care about and I'm passionate about doing, make a difference, make an impact. Don't focus on people, or doing stuff, whether you're envious of them, you shouldn't be envious of them, or if they're doing something and all the jealousy and all that stuff like that. I mean, that's just being something that's not being a spiritual person. You got to focus on, the things that you can be a part of and make a difference with, and go out there and do this stuff, be busy and make a difference in a positive manner. And that's really being with a spiritual person. And what we should be doing in the field is synergistically working for the greater good, innovating the field when it comes to the research, the equipment, and helping people and bringing spiritual awareness. And there are people out there that you can connect with, but there's so much more of this garbage that takes away from the potential we do have of being a community, all being involved in this research and doing the investigations and things like that. But that's why I just got to focus on what you're called to do and what you feel is right for you. Follow your intuition with what you're involved in, and be safe.
You couldn't have said it better. There's a lot of, I call them para-influencers. They're all about the like, follow, and share versus the research fact and furthering our community. There's a couple bad apples that'll make the whole orchard appear rotten.
That is very true. Gentlemen, I'm going to get you to hold on right there, because we only got about 25 seconds before we have to go to break here at the top of the hour. The unfortunate part about what Sean is saying is very true, but it also happens not only in the paranormal scene, but in the UFO, the cryptid scene, the people who are being abducted by extraterrestrials. We're having ET contact. It just seems to be everywhere, that loathing for popularity and the push for social media clicks. We got Ghosts of the Great White North for another hour here on Spaced Out Radio. Our main man, Merle, from the Paranormal Road Trippers. Lordy, Merle is 40. And Sean Austin from Ghost Loops. We continue with Spaced Out Radio's Paranormal Talk when we hit hour number 2, right after this break. Stay tuned. All right, boys, we're clear.
I will be right back, Dave. I got to go check on my kid, make sure she's sleeping.
Me too. Sean, we got about a 6-minute break here.
All right. Cool.
Be right back. All right, I am back. All right. Hello, stunning Cindy. The gorgeous and talented Nicole Sakic. We'll see you tomorrow, even though we'll chat later on. Who else has arrived here? Hey, Merle Bird.
Merle's back.
I got a question from the audience when we kick off, Merle.
Cool. I quite like your outlook, Sean, with the actual investigation process and your actual intent on why you do it. It's good.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
I feel the same about that. It's about helping at the end of the day. It's not about... That's a big sore subject for me.
Yeah.
Dave, I went to the States last week.
Yeah.
And the Americans have so many different flavors of Coke Zero. It was overstimulating. But it's so good. You guys are lucky down there. We got like nothing. compared to you guys for like treats or things
Treats?
like pop or like snacks?
Oh,
A lot of different flavors.
yeah. Yeah, we got an assortment of craziness.
You don't understand the lack of selection in Canada, man.
Still cold up there?
Yesterday I had an inch of snow where I am.
I had blue skies and air conditioning on.
Must be nice. We got it just over a minute, boys. We don't get RC Cola up here anymore. We used to.
Which cola? RC?
RC.
I don't even know if we still have that, do we? I don't even know.
Mm. And I don't know what a moon pie is. Do you know what a moon pie is, Merle?
I don't.
Me either.
Mm.
I haven't seen RC Cola in like 30 years. Big thank you to Dragon L, Ghostly, Samantha, Michael, Bones, Thomas, Black Dragon, Big Dog, and Bones again for the amazing super chats. Thank you to all the veterans who have tuned us in. And we're going to get going here in 5 seconds. So sit tight. Here comes hour number 2.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old baby the favor. Hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Lacolith. Lacolith is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as a clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue hour number 2 of the show tonight with Merle from Ghosts of the Great White North and the Paranormal Road Trippers based out of Vancouver. And it's this time of the month where we get into everything paranormal. From Ghost Loops, we have Sean D. Austin, one of the stars of the television show. He is a masterful paranormal investigator, demonologist, and everything. If it's ugly in the paranormal, he knows how to drop the gloves against it. Gentlemen, welcome back. We're going to kick off a question here from our audience, and this comes from Akryong. Can someone be possessed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, only speak nonsense and try harder to annoy, control, manipulate everyone, and drain their energy? Sean.
I mean, you'd be talking about a perfect possession, and that's something that's allegedly that's even more rare than possession itself. So I wouldn't say that would be something that would just, happen out of the blue like that. Usually it's kind of an in and out type of thing, where the person will be possessed and then all of a sudden they'll be back to normal. So, I've heard about a perfect possession, but I've never seen any evidence of one, but definitely talks of it.
And the second part of that question, what demons' names have you seen and where do they live on the weekdays? I don't know what that means, but we're going to run with it.
Yeah, there's been an assortment of demon names, and obviously some people, some of us believe that you start announcing some of the demons' names, it's almost as if you're calling them. So I'm really
No.
late at night. I really don't feel like calling out to a bunch of creatures from other dimensions before I have a serious conversation with my pillow after this show. But I've definitely encountered, things for sure that have claimed to be demons of the sort of some of the hierarchies of, the top dogs for sure.
Mennonite Abe would like to know, have you ever seen any demons that appear as children?
Yeah, we were just talking about that before. It's something with the Annabelle doll followed me home. I've seen children with black eyes. Yeah. And obviously, demonic entities can shapeshift into any, form that they try to deceive us with. And obviously, the most innocent creatures of us all are children. They can mimic our voices. And even on the documentary, Malefice, that you can watch on scarenetwork.tv, it mimicked my buddy Eric's voice and Dave Spink's voice through the spirit box while we're on the investigating, validating more of what we were dealing with, and validating the fact that it was a demonic force at hand, because human spirits can't do that sort of thing.
Right on. Merle, take it away.
What is the most common way possessions happen that you've heard of?
Well, I mean, obviously, it's always got to start with some sort of invitation, and that invitation can lead, if you know about the 3 stages, the infestation, which is they have permission to haunt and infest an environment, and then the psychological breakdown of the individual, which would be the oppression, and ultimately, subconsciously, are they going to inadvertently give up and let this thing actually take over their body? So it's just dependent on the methods of the person and what that exact invitation was that led to that rare moment, which would be a little bit more incorporated to that answer.
Do you find that a lot of people accidentally invite the dark into them?
I mean, of course. I mean, you have so many people these days, they see TikTok videos of people messing around with these challenges and messing around with occult activity, and they just don't realize it's not like you're taking a ticket and going to, great adventure for a roller coaster ride. I mean, you're talking about a decision that could literally wreak havoc in your life, and then at any point in your life. I try to tell people too. I mean, you could do something. I mean, I know people that mess around with Ouija boards and in the field, and I don't judge anyone that has a different belief system than I do. I would never do that. I do things the way that I feel that I should be doing it, and guided by my own experiences and my faith. But obviously I do have my opinions about things like Ouija boards and like that, because I mean, look what happened to me. Just because you play with something one night and something doesn't happen that night doesn't mean it has to happen to you that night. I mean, that invitation could be opened at years from now in your life, to the point where you have no clue it has anything to do with the paranormal. And that's exactly what this thing would want, because these things don't want to be exposed for their plans. So they're going to be like, okay, now it's a good time to come in, and they might wait again when it's a point when you in your life where some really stuff is really hard that you're enduring, and they're going to make it even harder.
I always tell people when they play with Ouija boards or spirit boxes, I'm guilty, I play with both. There's no caller ID in what we're doing. It's not like our iPhones. So at the end of the day, you could be talking to Aunt Edna, but really it's Damien, right?
Yeah.
And people, like, you're right, with TikToks or YouTube videos or Instagram videos, they really push for their darker reaction. People don't want to talk to like a friendly ghost. They don't want to talk to Casper. They want to talk to the bad guys, because that's when you get the cool reaction for the likes and the follows.
That's right. It's the taboo corner of the paranormal. And once again, that comes down to the word intent. So, your intent is to communicate with something dark. So then you're sending that out to the universe, and you got to be careful for what you ask for. And I know I get that question a lot. Like, what's the difference between a spirit box and a Ouija board? I'm like, in my interpretation of that is that, you're allowing the spirit, you're moving with the spirit. You're allowing it to move it with an inanimate object to, in my opinion, is actually inadvertently channeling through you, rather than just holding something, allowing it to speak through you. When you're moving with it, I believe that there's some sort of connectivity to why most demonic, cases, and through all the books that I read, the percentage is really high on starting, and all the stories that I read started out with a Ouija board, and some of the most famous exorcism, including the one that was based off the movie The Exorcist, was based off, what happened with the boy and his aunt with the Ouija board. So, we're all playing spiritual Russian roulette here. There's
100%.
we take risks as investigators, look, I have stuff that happens to me, it comes home with me. You just got to be prepared for what may come from some of the choices we make, and try to be as safe as possible in the process.
Yeah.
As you deal with more and more people, and people kind of are finding their own spirituality and their own belief system to what suits their core needs for their soul, do you find things as the world moves forward that we are giving the darker side more energy, or is it that people are finding their own spirituality in a way that it is enlightening more of the population?
I'm just going to bring that principle into something as simple as like when I go live. So when I go live, and I use TikTok because you can actually get to an audience. You can actually reach a bunch of new people, because when you're going live, somehow you end up on people's For You pages. It's kind of like a news feed, and people like videos that are paranormal, and you're going to show up in their pages, and you can be in front of a lot of people pretty quickly. And, that comes with a little bit of both of what you're saying. It comes with, you can have all of a sudden these trolls come in, and then the people sit there and like, oh, this is fake, this is crap, what are you doing? They just want to talk down to you. But then you get this big, they get this handful of people that are actually good people, that are actually asking legitimate questions and saying, hey, what are you doing? And then they want to listen, they want to learn. And, there's a good element to that. And I think that's the same thing with when it comes to, the dark things and people just being open to spirituality in general. You're going to have this group of people that are ignorant and get themselves into trouble. And you get these people that want to learn for good reasons. But, it's all about, the people. Who are they learning from? If they're going to learn from people that get themselves into trouble, then the people that are trying to learn are going to get themselves in trouble. It's just like, there's so many different people that have so many different methods in this field. It's just like they could have 50 different methods and opinions and how they should approach the paranormal with just swiping through a bunch of videos on TikTok. But you get a little bit of both. But yeah, the more that we acknowledge the spiritual realm and people are more open and believing in it, that allows for us to make choices and take more risks, to allow these things to have more potential invitations, to allow these things to come into our lives and wreak the havoc they're truly idealistically wanted to do.
Natalie in the UK, good morning to you, Natalie, is wondering, are schizophrenic people possessed people?
Obviously, that's a big question that comes up a lot. And I think in some cases, I definitely think that is a feasible, legitimate possibility. Have I ever encountered something like that? Personally, no. But it's definitely something that I would be interested into doing some research about it and seeing if there's any truth to that. That's just comes out with doing investigations. If I went into a case where someone was like kind of speaking, strange and almost like out of character, I would be looking for some sort of paranormal, unexplained, evidence to back up what they're saying. If it's just personalities and there's no, obviously like a demon, they would be saying psychic stuff. Like they'll be saying things that they shouldn't know, information that wasn't given to them. I would be looking for some sort of activity or something that would be leaning towards, or even my abilities that's telling me, there's something more to this story. And that's, me, for myself, being sensitive. I use myself with my own piece of equipment with all the other equipment that I use when I go to these cases as well. So, these are all things that I'd be looking forward to decipher that potential.
Juan would like to know, any such thing as friendly spirits like Casper the Friendly Ghost?
Well, absolutely. You have friends on Earth, right? There's people that you want to be friends with, and there's people that you don't want to be friends with. And most of the spirits are human spirits that once lived here on Earth. So you're going to have these people their personalities that they had in life are the people that they have still earthbound, and they have that human personality so prevalently. So I get jokesters that are just friendly, and they'll say banter that I say and make jokes and all sorts of stuff. I mean, it's really funny. It brings a jovial part to, the paranormal investigating. It's not just about, the really creepy, scary stuff. It's a combination of everything. So yeah, absolutely. There's friendly to ghosts like Casper. I mean, there's definitely human spirits that are, definitely funny.
They probably echo how they were in living. Like, I think if you were a jabroni when you were alive, you're probably a jabroni when you're dead.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. Everything that they liked in life, and how they can kind of use that opportunity to come through and voice that and be a part of the conversation, again, makes them feel like they're alive still.
I'm still thinking about that, how probable possessed people use psychic, I guess I would want to say energy, psychic powers on you. Man, they could really throw you under the bus, with secrets.
Psychic people.
Yeah, but what's your checklist of like a possessed person, like going in as a demonologist? Like, how do you deem it?
Well, I mean, personally, I've never gone into a case besides the one with the girl that I knew was legitimate possessed. I've never gone where it actually was in a person had to have a solemn exorcism yet. It's been mostly infestations where I can perform the exorcism ritual in the house, and I haven't had to get a priest involved because I can do that myself. Luckily. But again, you'd be looking again for those things, the unexplained, the strange occurrences that would be circled around what this person was experiencing and what the people are saying that they're doing, and why they're claiming they believe that this person could be possessed. So, it's the same tactics of going into a case and trying to define a demonic infestation. Would be, just a little bit more layer when it comes to a person, because you have to really rationalize and really try to debunk, the possibility that this could be a rational, mental type of scientific answer behind what they're experiencing. But that's why you got to look for the paranormal element. I mean, not everything's the paranormal, not everything's a demon. So it's just dependent on things that you look for with the characteristics, as in demonology, would define that, whether it's one thing or the other.
Lara would like to know, do you use inner sight, see spirits with physical eyes, or both?
I have visions, flashes of imagery that comes to me clairvoyantly. I'll see balls of light around people. I've seen aura on and off. I've definitely seen, apparitions before, like, right in front of me. It's a little bit of everything. And I still believe my abilities are still progressing, because I've literally only been aware of these abilities within the bracket of, pretty much investing in the paranormal. I've been investing in paranormal like 12 years now. So it's been about, maybe 11 years that I've known about my abilities in the middle of my life. So I feel like I'm still developing it, because again, I didn't know I had this stuff when I was a kid, even though there were signs of it. I didn't know that I had this stuff. So the more that I go out there and flex those spiritual muscles in the spiritual gym, like locations and like cases, and constantly using those muscles to develop and harness them to their fullest potential, you discover those abilities and more of the of what it encompasses and what they can actually do to help.
All right, let's get to another question here. Evan would like to know, how do you know you aren't dealing with an egregore rather than a real spirit or demon?
What is an egregore?
I'm not sure either.
I've never heard that term.
It's an occult concept representing a distinct non-physical entity that arises from a collective group of people.
That's interesting. Well, if it's a human spirit, they're not going to be able to throw a refrigerator around the house. They wouldn't be able to, move physical objects that not even a human being could do. There's things like scratching on the walls, foul smells that don't have a rational explanation behind it, recurring nightmares, people getting scratched, people witnessing things that are glowing eyes, red or yellow, hooded figures, really, people becoming oppressed, suicidal, and things like that. There's just certain things that we look for to define whether it would be an inhuman spirit or a human spirit. I mean, just because something knocks off a table doesn't mean that it's like, the demon from hell. It's just, we fear the unexplained. We fear the unknown. So your imagination go right to the scariest, thing immediately. When in most cases it's probably like a circumstance of the movie Ghost with Patrick Swayze, and they're just like, hey, I'm over here, you're in my house, get out, you're renovating it, or I'm here, I need some help, I'm here, please, can you hear me, and just start waving around and trying to knock over everything, because I'm sure any of us would be doing the same thing if they were trapped in a house or trapped in a dimension and they're trying to get attention to have a way out.
Like, I wouldn't be impressed, like, if I was a spirit, I wouldn't be impressed if people coming in my house yelling, show yourself, let us know you're here.
Yeah.
All the time. It'd be like, dude, don't talk to me like that.
Yeah, I mean, again, with the respect I try to show to spirits, and I always announce that, like, I have nothing but respect and humble to be able to speak with you, and there's something that we can do to help you. And I say, if you need prayer from me, you say the word pray. And that's something that, I've had this conversation with Ralph, and with some of my experiences too, with even the Amityville story, is that, I had that little boy's voice coming through, and, saying it was John DeFeo, the boy.
That was interesting.
Yeah. And, I asked him, do you want prayer? And he said, please. And it's just, once again, it's just, we both, I asked Ralph, I'm like, obviously I know demons would try to disguise themselves to say like, oh, I'm this little boy or this and that. But Ralph agreed, no demon would ever want you to pray for any reason to bring you closer to God. So if you're getting a spirit asking for prayer, then you damn well know that you're dealing with a human spirit. So that's been a guiding light too for me. So when I know they say pray, then that's really someone truly asking for help, and I certainly will do that.
Do you use any sort of metaphysical protection on top of your faith?
I mean, I wear this blessed St. Michael pendant around my neck, and actually Ralph has a relic of the true cross Jesus was crucified on. Anything it touches is considered a third-class relic, and it's actually all my the St. Benedict medals I use to seal the property in the four corners of the property. I've been touched by it typically, and I have Ralph do that for me. That's typically how I protect myself. Holy water and special protection prayers, blessed oil, and things of that nature. It's basically, it's my faith for the most part. Yeah, I mean, I know people use a lot of those things like stones and things like that. There was a case of a boy that actually contacted me. It was interesting. Because I know some people use sage and things like that too, but I've been on cases where people use sage and there was something inhuman there, and it got pissed off, and it got okay for a couple of days and it got way worse after that. So, or even this thing I was going to mention about the stone thing is that this boy, he was like 20 in the 20s, and he reached out to me, and he said that when he was younger, he was I think he was self-cutting, and like he was abused by his father and his neighbor. His neighbor, definitely a bad way, if you get my drift. And he was sent to some sort of mental facility. And he had said that he would see other kids actually carve pentagrams into themselves and all this just horrific stuff. And at some point he would see this little girl show up in the window, and then it would start to come inside and literally start to beat him. And he would be terrified of it. And at one point in this horrific, and he was popping pills and stuff like that, he actually renounced his baptism to God because he wanted to take his own life. And, this little girl kind of like drifted away, and he did a little bit better in his life, and he met a girl and he was living with her. And all of a sudden this little girl showed up again and started showing up, and he was petrified. And then he was there with his girlfriend and her mother, and saw him like he was getting hit and stuff like that. And they gave him like a black tourmaline. It's like to hold it. And like he had in his hand, and it was picked up and thrown across the room like it was nothing. And he was just completely, utterly horrified, terrified, not knowing what to do. And once he told me, what had happened, I told him, I was like, you got to go get yourself baptized again, because you actually gave that away. And then this thing, it's like, I think it's using against you. You got better in your life. So he went and got baptized. And even with a few of his friends, nothing ever happened again.
We have Ghost of the Great White North for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio. Merle, along with Sean D. Austin from Ghost Sleuths, will continue with Paranormal Chatter right after this on Spaced Out Radio. Stay tuned. All right, boys, we're clear. Have a couple more audience questions when we come back.
Sure.
And I have a few that were messaged to me.
All right.
From the Ukrainian watermelon.
What? No, I already asked that one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ukrainian watermelon. We know he's listening. Give us a wave, Ronnie. You're in Saskatchewan. You're in Flatland. Flat Earthers over there.
This is the secret to get to.
Okay, what is that?
That was my TikTok.
Oh.
The old talk. That's an easy rabbit hole to go down.
I know. And I moved to this apartment, man. I have like paranormal stuff that happens here. I've been documenting it too. I'm just like, of course, never a dull moment.
What's the latest thing that's happened there?
Well, I set up like a webcam while I'm sleeping, because like one of the first nights I slept here, the first night I slept here, I had stuff happen. Like there was somebody tickled me under my arm, and then I heard like voices and then movement in the kitchen. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I just feel like I'm just moved into a haunted house. I'm like, oh God. I'm like on location and I'm living it. But it's been mostly not bad or anything. It was just kind of friendly stuff. But I think like the other night, it's just this ball of light kind of just, flies around the bed, and this voice said Thomas. I don't know. It's just, I have it on trigger as motion sensor or sound trigger. And if anything happens, it's just like I get notified. So, but I know like where I live too, there were like witch trials in the area, and you have like the Mohegan Lake right here based on Native Americans. And so there's a lot of history here in the land, but of course with all the stragglers that probably come around with me too on top of it.
Yeah. What state are you in again?
Connecticut.
Yes.
Oh, I'm like 10 minutes away from the Warrens' house where Annabelle still resides.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Damn, it must be late for you right now. A couple hours ahead of us.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going straight to the conversation with the pillows after. Yep.
Anything you'd like to talk about in the last half hour? You're pumping out documentaries.
Yeah, I know. We're doing more too. I got the film guy coming up next weekend. We're going to go to Letchworth Village, and then I got access to a brewery that's actually part of Fairfield Hills Mental Hospital, which has been on TV a bunch of times, but the brewery hasn't. And it used to be where the doctors and nurses had a dining area and a library, and then the employees were having activity and stuff like that. So, yeah, we're going to do a documentary there. We still have Yorktown Memorial Hospital, a documentary about that. We were down in Texas, and Goatman's Bridge we went to. We're pumping out a bunch.
Very cool.
Yep. And
We got about 2 minutes.
Yeah, this weekend I'm going to a haunted museum Friday in Connecticut and Jersey. I'm investigating a prison in Jersey. So definitely keeping busy with the spookiness.
Good for you.
Especially now that it gets warmer out too. I like to go to some of these locations. They don't have heat or or anything like that. I hate, the winter just hinders so much
It
more
does.
stuff you can do. It's horrible.
I got a really cool investigation Saturday at a really nice old mansion close to where I live. And then on Tuesday we're going up to, we talk about the town all the time on the show, but it's called Barkerville. It's a old Wild West town.
Oh,
So
awesome.
if you take Tombstone or Deadwood and plant it up in the middle of the province of British Columbia, it's a big old gold rush town from the 1800s, and we get full access to it. So I'm pretty
That's
excited.
great. Yeah, I love Tombstone, man. I'd definitely go back there.
Yeah.
I love it. It's phenomenal, man. It's like you're just stepping back in time.
And then in August we're going down to Virginia City for a week
Nice.
to a handful of places. So that'll be fun.
There you go.
Hold on, guys. I want to say a big thank you to Dragon L, Ghostly, Samantha, Michael, Bones times 2, Big Dog, Black Dragon, Thomas, and Vaughn for the awesome super chats. And we will get to your questions as well here coming up here in the final half hour with Merle and Sean. Here we go. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Paranormal Road Tripper's own Merle joins us for Ghosts of the Great White North, as he does for every month. And we are talking with our special guest tonight, Sean D. Austin from Ghost Loops. And we're going to start with some audience questions here for you, Sean. And my chess is asking, are you planning to enter the Amityville house in the future?
That would be my number one paranormal bucket list in the world, because now I have personal stakes having to do with that case and would it follow me home, which is in that documentary Amityville, The Resurgence, which you can watch and stream right now on scarenetwork.tv. I never got in that house. I would do anything, just lock me in that house for 24 hours and to see what happened. I know that there's activity still going on in that area, in that house. And it's one of the most fascinating haunted house stories in America that ever happened.
All right, let's get to Acreon here. The demons can read the minds of others. How do you protect from it, for sure?
Well, some believe that the demons can't read your mind unless they're allowed to. For me, psychically, I've noticed that regular spirits know what I'm thinking. And it's something that I've actually learned throughout the years. I'd actually record an EVP and I leave a few seconds before I ask the question, because in some cases I realized that they were answering the question before I asked the question. And I feel like they actually hear the energy of the thought, because in my mind, I mean, mediums, they'll sit there and actually speak to the spirits without even saying it out loud. So there's a telepathic way that the spirits can hear spirits. And because there's no conception of time, demons actually can see into the forthcoming future minus our free will if we change that in any way. And that's why they have a good idea with the things that can happen or may not happen. So in the end, it's your faith. And, when it comes to demons, they're fallen angels. So I always tell people, like, all this stuff, people being terrified of demons and terrified of ghosts and stuff like that, evil spirits. I mean, they can't do to you what they idealistically want to do to you. If you truly believe that God's more powerful than any devil, demon, or diabolical force, these things will not be able to get out of you what they want. They will try to take you away from that. And fear only feeds negativity. And these energies thrive off fear, any sort of negative emotion a human being can have. So be mindful of that. I always say, if God told you to walk between two mountains and you were at the top of the mountain, you had to get to the other mountain, there's no, bridge there. Your first step out into either falling down to the bottom of the mountain or taking a step towards that other mountain, that's real faith. So if you stand in front of an 8-foot shadow, and I have before, and you have this fear that this thing can, harm you in a really, serious way, then it smells on you like a shark does to a wounded fish in the water. It's like you are prey, and it's going to use that and manipulate it to its advantage. I mean, these are the things that you got to think about. You can't fight these things with your fists or muscles or guns or whatever. This is a spiritual, battle here we're talking about, and we're not stronger than these things, and that's why we have to have the bigger thing and behind us and say, look, we need your help, and that's where faith really comes to play.
Merle.
One question that was sent to me is, what is closing the ghost loop? Explain that, because like I said, Discovery Plus is brand new up here, and so we're all watching that show too. Well,
on that show, the loop of activities really, that was a term that they came up with that we, ran with. So, obviously the most thing that we could say about that is that the activity was taking place in a reoccurring matter, because it's very confusing to people, because people are thinking, oh, aren't you talking about residual haunting? Because you can't communicate with residual haunting. It's just a movie playing out over and over again. It's an emotional event that took place that just you get little remnants of. But it's the activity that was repeating itself as a whole, kind of like a loop. It's similar in nature. So, so that's what we were doing. We were doing a trigger environment, which I thought was very interesting, to be able to do a trigger environment, which no one's ever done that, I thought was very unique, to actually, see how the spirits on these locations we were investigating interact with these scenes that were actually involved with some of the lives that they were living while they were alive in the physical plane, to try to get a reaction out of them and figure out what we were dealing with before trying to, displace them off the property, try to help the people.
Another question that was sent to me is, what was your most holy F moment of scare investigation? Like scare, like what's your scariest investigation you experienced?
There's one that I do mention that I wrote about in my first book, Shadow Chaser. This place in Indiana called Revenant Acres. And Dave Weatherly and Dave Spinks took me to this place. He told me how bad it was. It's one of the worst places they've ever been. And there was a video on YouTube of someone being possessed. And you can look at the video, it's legit. I mean, the guy's eyes are dilated. He's drooling at the mouth, his arms contorting. And, it definitely looks seriously legit. And it definitely had my apprehension up to this place before going there. And when we went there, the activity is insane. I just never met, they were mimicking our voices. Dave handed me the spirit box at one point. He said, dude, the energy off this box is intense. He handed it to me, and it was so intense. Like, I felt half my body going to like pins and needles, and I really felt like this thing was trying to get inside me. And this was back in 2015 or something. It was pretty back there. I immediately said, I'm like, guys, we got to put holy water on, because whatever here is just, it's like serious, man. And knowing someone got possessed here before, I'm like, I put holy water on. They're putting holy water in the kitchen, and there was this room adjacent to the kitchen, and I'm sure everyone's seen The Exorcist. That white face with the nasty eyes and teeth that flashes. That's literally what it looked like. I saw in this corner room, and I'm like, what the hell is that? And I remember we had an obelisk on. It was saying devil, minion, warning or something like that. Dave's throwing holy water all around the first floor. We started to smell like this fecal smell out of nowhere. And Dave didn't even know his recorder was recording in his pocket. And then after we thrown holy water around, we hear this voice saying, you better pray it burns. it led up to a point we were upstairs and we started to investigate again. And, I felt this thing like trying to get inside me again. I'm saying, in the name of Jesus Christ, back off. And we were live streaming too. And like out of nowhere, it felt as if like a truck hit the entire house and the whole house just did this. And like, we just turned off our equipment looking at each other like, did that seriously just happen? And then we hear these like footsteps coming up the stairs, and all of a sudden, with this crazy chitter chatter whispering. I mean, at that point, I'm here with two, veterans in the field of investigating for 30 years. And we all looked at each other like, we're just poking this thing at this point. I mean, what's the point? I mean, the next thing that's going to happen is one of us is going to get possessed, knowing that two people have been possessed in that house and seeing footage of one of them and seeing what was taking place, escalating to the point where it was like, what was next? We left that investigation. I don't think they had ever left an investigation all their years to the point it was so bad. So, that was definitely one of the, craziest, nights I had too. Besides what happened to me with the Maleficent documentary, after I crossed over, what I believe to cross over those two female spirits, and what followed me home, I saw the shadow dart around my bed, and then I saw this like zombified man, face falling off, and he's just going like this, like, you're dead. Wow. And then there was this hooded, not hooded, it was black shadow with horns, and when it spoke, it was like through a subwoofer. It was like, there are rules, and like, I shot up like, what the hell just happened? Yeah, I had red marks show up on my wrist and on top of my feet. I really didn't know what was going on, man. I was really perplexed by the whole scene that took place with the whole thing saying there are rules. I really didn't understand what it was, meaning behind that. I'm like, is it talking about these spirits that I prayed for? Like, I really didn't know. And going back to that house and validating everything that I experienced, and my vision and references to my vision and the thing coming to me and everything. Definitely, if you guys have a chance, check out Maleficent. It's like a horror movie, and that house was a horror house. Is definitely a creepy, unique story that we're, like I said, like typically documentaries and stories, you go back to help a family that's still experiencing something, but it was revenge against me that I tried to mess with my personal life, and was with a potential relationship with a girl. And, what's the best revenge to try to mess with me with something with a girl, is because I took women away from it. And I had to go back to this place to validate that stuff. And we investigated for like 3-4 nights. And just the evidence that we got was just like the EVPs, just the constant, just a barrage of just nasty evil. Like, it's just, wow. It's just crazy. So yeah, that's definitely up there, obviously too.
And that one's on Scare Network as well.
Yeah. That was the first full length that they actually, Billy actually, released, and definitely proud of it. It's definitely personal to me, and a very unique, very scary story.
And the last question that I have that was sent to me is what are the symptoms? I know it's a strange word to use, but what are the symptoms of a negative haunt or spirit?
Well, if you're saying a negative human spirit, or are we talking like inhuman?
Inhuman, like the telltale signs of like, oh boy, we're dealing with something that's not Casper.
Recurring nightmares, sleep paralysis, foul smells with no rational explanation, scratching on the walls, adverse reactions to things of religious significance, people seeing hooded, shadows, glowing eyes, things like that, or heavy objects that not even a human spirit could move. Things like that, to really try to decipher. But it's really dependent on the situations. But those are some of the big characteristics we would be looking through. Growling, things of that nature as well.
Do you think the old hag is linked to negative entities or inhuman entities?
Well, the whole sleep paralysis thing, I wrote a whole chapter about it in my first book too, about astral projection. And it was happening to me, a lot of outer body experiences. I've seen myself sleeping many times before, and I've had quite a few profound outer body experiences. But I learned all about it, how your soul's attached to your physical body, something called the silver cord. And, when you leave your body, you go into sleep paralysis. And in those cases, it's very easy to assume something is on top of you because your body paralyzes and you can't do anything but think. And so I always tell people, if they're having sleep paralysis, if you witness something in this while you're having sleep paralysis, are you seeing something in your room? Are you seeing a shadow? Is there something on top of you? And if they do, I would say that most likely there is something inducing that sleep paralysis that may be shaking your soul within your physical body. The old hag syndrome is probably some sort of thing that many people are associating with something they've experienced during the sleep paralysis. I know that the stories of the Dybbuk box, that's something that's actually specifically pertained to the Dybbuk box, where they would open the Dybbuk box and there'd be an old hag and they would beat the person up and bite them and scratch them and stuff like that. And they would smell urine. And, I don't think it's something that's specifically pertained to sleep paralysis. I think that could be many different things. But that may be specific to something that we're not aware of, or something kind of like the Hat Man. So many people witnessing the shadow, with the hat, and it's always incorporated into some sort of dark, strange, eerie experience as well. But fascinating nonetheless, either way.
Got a couple questions from the audience here. And Noble Patrick would like to know, have you ever been scratched or hurt by a ghost?
I've definitely been scratched before. And even to go back to the girl, the story that I wrote about in my second book, and also the documentary Devil Down South, which is on scarenetwork.tv as well, which I have the picture of as well. She was being choked on the phone. She couldn't breathe, and I could hear laughing coming through the phone, and I started to say the Archangel Michael prayer, and out of nowhere, I felt burning on my arm, and 13 slashes appeared on my arm out of nowhere.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
Vaughn would like to know, Sean, do you find the most active spots are what were or are currently mental health facilities?
I mean, the mental health facilities are really something that I connect to on an emotional level, because I'm like, being a medium, there's so much emotion to what these people went through as patients. There may have been, abuse and then just torment, to the point where I tap into that stuff pretty easily going to places like that for the most part. But it's just really dependent on the history. It's really dependent on the stuff that went on there in the past, or maybe what people have done, and they may have done occult activity on top of the history that was there. I've experienced that a lot of these types of places, those mental asylums, because people mess around. I say this all the time too, like urban legends, like people, I love hearing about urban legends and going to find out for yourself. You hear the story, let's go do a little paranormal investigation and stuff like that. But, a lot of these urban legends are really just exaggerations that kind of float around from these rumors that start around in local towns. And, kind of like the melon heads, these things of like escapees from, asylums and stuff like that. And it's all across the country, but you go to these places and it ends up being haunted. But, these places could actually not be haunted really at all. But then you have all these people that go to these places because they think it's a creepy spot, and they actually do occult activity, and they could actually be turning a place that really wasn't active into an active place, because so many people go there and use their intent and use their methods, into opening up the doorways into the spirit world and making these places activate with manifestations.
All right. My chest would like to know, what are your views about the Enfield poltergeist?
Well, I know probably as much as you do. Those are some of the old cases that are just really fascinating. What's interesting to me is that, like, we don't hear much about extreme cases like that anymore, and it's something to wonder about as well, because of our technology. You think, because these things don't like to expose themselves, and because of the technology and the accessibility that we have with the cell phone, to be able to document some of the activity that happens. Because during the 80s and 70s, even the 90s, there were still some serious extreme cases that were going on that we got little bits and pieces of documentation from. But these days, I mean, if it was true, we would be able to, analyze some of that footage. But unfortunately, I think we're getting more of the fake YouTubers than we are legitimate cases. But the Enfield poltergeist, all those cases. Do you guys remember the story? I remember watching it on an episode of Paranormal Witness. It fascinated me so much because stories like that and hearing people from, walks of life, like cops, about the guy that came out of prison for his grandfather's funeral, and he's staying at this family friend's house, and then it literally starts raining in the house out of nowhere, and the guy gets thrown up against the wall, gets scratched, and out of nowhere, literally the water drops were defying gravity and going backwards and forwards and left and right. And they called the cops, and the cops were actually interviewed on the show, and they said that they witnessed this themselves, and they really didn't know what to even say, and they walked into this stuff. And then this guy got sent back to prison, and the whole town heard about what was going on with him. It was raining in the prison cell. And then the prisoners were saying, make it rain on the warden, and the warden's on the other side of the prison. And then like water droplets start hitting him, like in the cafeteria. Wow. They had to call a priest. It was raining in the freaking prison cell as he did an exorcism on him. The priest came out, sopping wet. To have all these people, the warden, the cops, and all this stuff to validate something like that, again, though that stuff fascinates the crap out of me, and I'm sure anybody would if they've heard about it or not heard about it. So yeah, some of those cases during those times, the 80s and 90s, 70s and stuff like that, and some of those crazy cases the Warrens went on. Yeah, I mean, I would love to be a fly on the wall with some of those, or to encounter one of those cases today, just to sit there and learn from it and just attain that knowledge from the experience. It's crazy.
Okay, we got 3.5 minutes here. Let's get to this question from Bones. Do you think that astral projection takes you to a higher or lower dimension? Some say that they see the roofs of homes while standing.
Well, there's many different dimensions. So I read a whole book about astral projection. So you have the lower vibrational, realm where probably where the dark evil stuff is. You have the astral realm where all the ghosts are, and then there's higher vibrational frequency realms as well. I've been out of my body. I've seen the roofs I flew over houses, and I'll even give you a quick one. One of the craziest outer body experiences I had was out of nowhere. I was floating through the pews in church, and I could hear the church music so vividly. And I saw myself about between 8 and 10 years old, and I saw my dad standing next to me, and my younger self we looked at each other. And I was floating closer to myself as a young child, and I heard this echoing voice saying, Sean, you're going back too far. You need to come back. And then I felt this centrifugal force suck me back into my body, and woke up humming the church music. You basically, when you're out of your body, it's just so fascinating. You basically can go anywhere. Again, that's where actually time travel, I believe, is possible. It's because we're not limited to the physical laws of this world that we live in. But there's many different dimensions. It's not like you just go to one. You basically end up in the astral realm. So that's how you could be able to see yourself sleeping, which I've seen many times. And then you could end up going to other places from there.
We got 90 seconds left. And Merle, it's always a pleasure to have you here with us on Spaced Out Radio for Ghosts of the Great White North. Sean, it's been 6 years, but I can pretty much say that it won't be another 6 years. I promise you.
Nice.
Before we bring you back on. But Sean, tell our audience where they could find your work and your social media.
Absolutely. Sean D. Austin, SEAN, D as in David, AUSTIN, .com, at Twitter, Instagram, all the same. If you want signed copies of my books in the US, I mail them out, even my music, posters, and even TikTok is Sean D. Austin. I'm going live at Investigations on my TikTok, Sean D. Austin. Even this weekend, got 2 awesome locations. Email me if you have any questions or anything like that. Thanks for having me.
And Merle, another great show, buddy.
Another great show. Thanks for coming on, Sean. God, there's so many things I want to still ask you, so we have to have you on again.
Absolutely.
And I promise you guys, I will have fun in Vegas this weekend without both of you. I will. I promise, especially you, Merle.
I'll be checking in with you.
Especially, no, I'm teasing, guys. We'd love to have you there. Maybe next year you guys could join the event when we do the second annual SOR fan party, because our audience would love to meet up with both of you guys. That is truly, truly for sure. So thank you, Sean Austin and Big Bad Merle. He's Paranormal tonight as we close things down. Coming up next in hour number 3 of Spaced Out Radio, we're going to head to the swamp. Our resident swamp dweller is going to take us into the darkness with another spooky story about forest men. Then, the fedora-wearing John Hudson will keep us all awake with another unbiased UFO report. Shirky Poo's got the news. A jam-packed hour number 3 is next on Spaced Out Radio. Great show, gentlemen. Great show.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks again, Sean.
Good job.
Well, guys, enjoy your evening. Have a safe trip down to Vegas. Have a good time. Don't do anything I would do. And,
I will do. Yeah, it's been 6. It's been 6 years since I've been to Vegas, and I've got a lot of pent up energy.
there you go.
Pace yourself. Pace
Yeah.
yourself.
I will. I'm not drinking much this weekend. Merle, you've seen how much I drink.
That.
It's very little. All right, guys, I got to get going here, but we'll talk to you guys very soon, okay?
Sounds good.
Right.
Thanks so much, guys.
Ciao.
All right. See you, Merle.
Ciao.
Bye. It's Merle. 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 All right, peeps. I will be right back. And I'll be back. That's all I got. I'll be back. All right. Solaire, how you doing? Ross Lambda, how you doing, man? Prag Magic, how are you doing? I literally have one suitcase that is filled with swag. One suitcase that I am taking down. I literally had to roll up all of my clothing as tight as possible to fit it in my... Oh, my on-air sign is right here, there. I should have turned it on. I'll quickly do that. There we go. We're on air. On air. On air. The show could officially start. Thanks, Luscious Jules. Thank you tonight to Bones, Dragonelle, Ghostly ×2, Michael, Samantha, Thomas, Black Dragon, Big Dog, Catfish ×2, Vaughn for the amazing super chats, guys. I very much appreciate it. Here comes hour number 3 of Spaced Out Radio.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to check us on out wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Odyssey Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Lackalith. Lackalith is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. It is time for us once again to head into the swamp. Our resident swamp dweller has another spooky story for your entertainment.
Hi, Spaced Out Radio listeners. This is Swamp Dweller. It's time for your nightly dose of spookiness on the show. If you have an interesting encounter or a spooky story that you would like to share, be sure to submit them in at swampdweller.net. You can also find our YouTube channel at youtube.com/swampdwellerreads. Now, let's chill out, relax, and together, let's enter the swamp. So, to start off, I live in rural Idaho. Farmlands and woods for thousands of miles, it seems. Now, at this time, I was 20 years old, and I and a few friends decided to go camping. Like all great ideas, we also brought along with us guns and liquor. Most of us owning lifted trucks, we headed deep into the Pacific Northwest woods. We drove random trails for hours looking for that perfect spot, far enough from anyone and anything to avoid the law enforcement and bothering anybody else. We came upon a small cabin at some point and decided that this would be a great spot to camp. This is an old trapper's cabin left over from who knows what year. Logs were grayed and cracked. The roof had been taken over by moss of the woods, and a tree decided its roots needed a new home because it was really growing into the side of this building. Regardless, this place, thinking back on it, was rather odd. The door was dug down about 2 feet so the whole cabin looked like a 10-year-old would be the builder. Yet inside you could stand up easily. My friend JC called to look as me and him went inside to check out what we had found. As I wandered over, he looked at me in this kind of sickly manner. He looked nearly green. "What's up, man?" I asked. "Bro, check this out. Have you ever seen so many dead animals?" At this, I picked up my pace a little. I mean, the last thing we need to be is near a wolf den or cougars banquet area or something like that. What the hell? I start looking around. I thought we might be standing in a mudding pit. This was no longer an option. Looking into this creek bed area to see, I guess, around 5 deer, 2 elk, maybe half of a moose, and I think a few raccoons. All dead and torn apart, guts splayed all around. The smell of something I'll never forget was rotting somewhere. It was like rotting bile mixed with the smell of feces and urine, all combined. This explains why JC looked so green. Looking around, Matt and Joe were off gathering wood for a fire, and it was getting dark rather fast. All we could do for a while was just stare at the Jackson Pollock of dead things. "Bro, is that a footprint?" I snapped my head to where he was pointing. It looked like a bare human footprint and a few others leading away from this place. That looks like a footprint and a bare footprint. Who the hell walks around barefooted in these type of areas? There was debris everywhere. Rocks, glass, old shards of, building materials. Man, this is so strange. What do we even do? I say. This time, being where my mind was at the time, I seriously didn't know what to do. Who would be around in bare feet like we said? There should have not been anybody doing something like that here. Or better yet, I should have considered the fact that whoever this was, or whatever this was, might return to this spot. Anyway, we walk over, and yep, we find more footprints that look just like the ones from before. Most were even close to our own foot size. Joe and Matt got back sometime around dusk. It was starting to get dark, so we got a fire started, and we backed up our trucks and all lined them up, ready to get the hell out of there if need be. As the fire burns, we begin to drink. Matt and Joe are talking about the pile, like it's some poacher's dump area. Again, the fact that we were still there is absolutely insane. I can't for the life of me tell you why we didn't get out of there. The forest got dark, and I mean dark. The moon was out, and it just seemed like it wouldn't touch this area. We all did only have a few drinks, not enough to get pissed drunk or anything. We didn't get super messed up, and we didn't do any hold my beer moments. JC was the first to point out that it was silent outside. Not the silence of the woods at night. I mean, it was silent. Like no sound other than us and the fire. No wind, bugs, nothing. Then, just like the scary movies, a glint of movement in the forest caught my eye. What was that? Did you guys see that? Who's that? Joe says, interrupting my sentence. We all look around and stand just outside the light of the fire. We couldn't see much, but what I saw, I could only describe as a half-naked man with this stupid grin on his face and this weird stick in his hand. Yo, dude, are you okay? Joe yells, and this thing lurches forward a few steps like a Walking Dead type creature. What the hell? Joe tells me, on the other hand, just to go into the truck and get my 1911 from under the seat. I click the slide as I chamber around. James, what are you? Shut the hell up, JC, and get in your truck. We got to go now. I level my gun, taking aim at this thing. Seeing Joe to my right, he had gotten his AR-15 out of his tent. As well, he says, James, bro, we need to leave. There's 2 more to his left. Now, we look over, and we see that these people or these things had these antler helmets. I guess I don't really know how to explain them, nor do I care to. Matt, start my truck, Joe said. He rode there with Joe. Matt was like lightning in that moment, and ran to the truck and turned it on quicker than I've ever seen anything happen. JC, you too, bro. Fire it up. He starts his truck. Now, this man twitches left, right, and like every type of position you could imagine. It was like some Matrix glitch or something. I don't really know how to explain it, and I'm very sorry if I'm not making any sense. Then, I see this thing's eyes. Or the lack of eyes. It was... There was no white, just this golden yellow glint. It was like just a source of light. Not like it was eyeballs, if that makes any sense. That was all we needed. I hopped in the back of JC's truck, and he took off out of there. I started firing at this thing because it started chasing us. I hear the crack of the AR-15 go off and 3 rounds go into this guy. But he doesn't stop. He doesn't even trip. He doesn't do anything. He continues to run at us. I shoot a few shots myself, shooting a few 45 ACP hollow point rounds. I'm not sure how many times I hit it, but I know I hit it at least once or twice. We drove around a sharp corner, and just like that, it suddenly disappeared and wasn't following us anymore.
Wow, that's just freaky. You imagine experiencing that? We love the Swamp Dweller around here. Make sure you go over to his YouTube channel, youtube.com/Swamp Dweller Reads, and check out his channel. Hit subscribe. Literally, the Swamp Dweller has thousands of stories just like that. Speaking of stories, it is time once again for us to bring in the fedora-wearing John Hudson and the unbiased UFO report. Let's do it. And here is the fedora-wearing John Hudson. How you doing there, buddy?
Doing good, Dave. Doing good. How about you, man?
I am great. You know what today is?
What?
Today is the 7th anniversary of Carl. Hold on. I think my sound.
Oh, your sound. I lost your sound there for a second.
There we go. I should be a little bit clearer now.
Yeah, we're good.
Today is the 7th anniversary of Carl showing up at my window during my broadcast.
I was worried you were going to say something else, Dave, and I was like, I don't really know if this is the best topic for this show, but you go ahead.
It's an important day in spaced out radio history.
For a lot of people.
It very much is, because
for a lot of reasons.
And we actually have one person in our chat room, Joe Monk, who was actually listening that night when Carl showed up. That's going way back on our Blog Talk radio days. Our horrible, horrible Blog Talk radio days. My goodness. That was terrible, painful. But
are those still up there somewhere? Can I go listen to those?
No, we haven't been on Blog Talk radio since early 2016.
I gotta find them if I look hard enough, though.
You might find them out there, but I don't even know. Don't even know. I had a copy of it at one point, but now I can't find it. So for people who are wondering, who's this Carl guy? There was an alien gray that showed up at my window, and I nicknamed him Carl. So that's how it kind of came through. Totally came through. Anyways, we're going to get into some UFOs with you.
And you were talking to somebody at the time, and you.
I was talking to a gentleman named Harvey Kraft, and we were talking about Buddha of all topics. And then I turned to the window after seeing something out of the corner of my eye, and there was the giant gray head with the big black eyes, very, very bony face. Like I could see the cheekbones, kind of where the eyes set into. It was very, very weird. Very, very weird.
Well, I'm sure his mother tried to get him to eat, and he just didn't like it or something.
Yeah, maybe. All right. Speaking of UFOs, where do you got for us tonight, John? Where are we heading?
Oh, where are we heading? That should be. I was actually trying to look for some of the images I tried to create of Carl, but you're right. We should probably focus on the topic at hand.
Yeah.
Probably, a more professional way of going about things. Yeah. So things are getting This is actually getting. Well, let me put it this way. I'm having tremendous fun, and I sincerely hope this is fun for you guys as well. So, first off, we have a really, really interesting example here, or I should say possible example, of where a very, very simple and innocent, flawed assumption can really lead you astray in research, okay? And this is something I personally was victim of, and for actually good reasons. So there was a gentleman that you had on the radio a couple nights ago, Dave. I don't remember if I top of my head like what night it was and what his name was, but he was a gentleman who was seeing objects that no one else could see, and his pupils were dilating when he would see the objects, even though no one else could see the objects. Do you remember what his name was? I apologize. I had it in my notes, but I can't see it right now. But anyway, so this gentleman was basically seeing an object that was to him real, but no one else could see it. And his evidence that something real was going on was that his pupils were dilating. Well, what I found was a paper that just came out showing that this happens to everybody. When you imagine something, your pupils dilate. Your pupils dilating, and the gathering of more light actually is involved in the way your imagination creates images for you. And so it turns out that everyone does this. And it turns out in the study, the way they tested this, which is super interesting, is they found that subgroup of people that cannot visualize things in their head. It's a medical condition where they cannot visualize three-dimensional objects in their head. And they brought that group in, had them do the same thing, and their pupils didn't dilate. So what this study shows is that pupil dilation is actually a very normal thing with the imagination, and therefore that guy's evidence for why he believes those things are real is not as solid as I personally thought it was. Because I followed on what I consider to be a reasonable assumption. Oh, of course, pupils don't dilate unless there's something there. Like, why would your eyes waste the energy of moving muscles to gather more photons for an object that isn't even real, right? Like, that just seemed crazy to me. But I ran with that assumption. I didn't look deeper until I ran into this. And it's like, whoa, like, that was a very poor assumption for me to make, but a reasonable one, but a great example of how a very simple assumption can lead you really astray in research.
Well, I mean, there's all these little human tics that we have, John, that literally kind of give away fact from fable. And sometimes people are able to, like, for instance, when you're telling a story, I'm somebody who does, because I worked long enough in radio, I don't make a lot of eye contact. My eyes are always moving to wherever I need to go, or wherever I'm thinking of, and there's all of these little tics that allegedly give away whether or not you're telling the truth, whether or not you're trying to think of anything.
Yeah. I watched those FBI specials where they analyze the body behavior. It's awesome stuff.
Does that kind of come into play here?
No, not at all. Because of the fact that he didn't say. Here's the thing: if he had made the assumption that his pupils dilating means that he's actually seeing the object, I don't think that's actually an unreasonable assumption for him to have made. It's not an assumption you shouldn't test, but evidently I made the same assumption, right? But he didn't say point blank, I've looked into it and I know for a fact that your eye muscles only move if the object's real, right? He didn't say. Now, if he'd said something like that verbatim, like he'd said, no, I can show it, then now he's leading us astray, and we're not doing what you say properly. I think in this case, he was honestly, deceptively deceived himself. And essentially, most of us, like me, just went along with it because it was a reasonable thing to assume. It was a very reasonable thing to assume. It was unfortunately just a wrong thing to assume.
Well, it makes sense. It does make sense. But are you saying that the watery eyes, and please forgive me, I'm trying to wrap my brain around this, that watery eyes is a way to tell whether or not someone has had some sort of contact? Or
No. This is to say that this gentleman believed that when he saw things in his three-dimensional space that only he could see, that no one else could see, that the evidence he had that those objects might, he didn't say for sure, but might actually be real, was that his pupils were dilating and they were actually reacting to the object as if it was actually there. And therefore, for him, it must actually be there. And that was his logic. And that seemed like very sound logic to me. And then I find this paper, which I have linked, which we can send out, that basically shows that no, it turns out when you imagine things, your pupils dilate. And so your pupils dilate just to your imagination. And so it's actually not true that because his pupils are dilating, that means that he's actually seeing something. All it really means is that he's imagining it. Now, that doesn't mean that they aren't really there. It just means that piece of evidence that he offered for why he thinks he really is seeing something isn't as solid as he thought it was.
Gotcha. All right. We got 3.5 minutes before we got to go to break here at the bottom of the hour on the Unbiased UFO Report. Your scientific man crush, Gary Nolan,
yeah. So
back in the news.
Let's if we only got 2 minutes, let's skip and let's cover the third point real quick, because this was a quick one, but it's a fun one to think about while we're on the break. Okay. All right. So basically, this broke today on Fade to Black. But I did find the article link, and I'm linking to it. So it did really happen. But on April 15th, just the past day, at 9:50 a.m., there was a earthquake warning that went out in the Catalina area. The U.S. Global GS reported a 4.0 or 4. Something earthquake. Shortly after this, it was announced that the earthquake did not actually happen at Catalina. It happened about 14 miles southeast of Catalina. But the USGS was now reporting that something was off, that none of their physical triggers went off. Only their surface triggers went off. So they said there was a 4 magnitude something that happened on the surface, but it wasn't caused by an earthquake because no earthquake happened. And they basically deleted the earthquake from their records and then said, thanks, not an earthquake anymore, not our problem. Meanwhile, what happened in Catalina Island that made it look like a 4.0 earthquake hit the surface?
Aliens. Always aliens.
What else could it be?
Has to be. So, I mean, could whales cause that?
No. Well, no. Well, I mean, I suppose if someone reported like 50 whales, no. Sorry, I've seen too many hitchhiker, read too many hitchhiker books.
So, what do you think it is?
Well, for that area, the first most logical thing would be a U.S. Test vehicle. And if we could rule that out, it would be a non-U.S. test vehicle. And that's it. I mean, that's all you can do is just go through the rings. But that would be one hell of a propulsion system, or a massive change of velocity, or a change of direction to generate the amount of energy that you wouldn't need, that you could just release as sound into the environment, that would create that kind of effect.
Would an F-18 at Mach speed do that?
Not that I'm aware of.
Flying at low level.
I need to look. I don't know. I know the newer planes make less decibels. So I don't know. We need to look. Maybe like a big 680, or maybe like a big plane. I don't know. I mean, that's a 4.0 earthquake. I mean, if you've ever been in a 4.0 earthquake, if you're at the right angle, you can feel a 4.0 earthquake. The ground moves a little bit. I mean, you feel it.
Right.
It's not nothing.
Well, John, we're going to pause right there, because when we come back from the break, your scientific man crush in the UFO world, Dr. Gary Nolan from Stanford University, had a great podcast interview with Kurt J. Mungle from Theories of Everything. And they got into some very big scientific woo that's very important for us to talk about. More coming up on the Unbiased UFO Report with a fedora-wearing John Hudson when we return on Spaced Out Radio. Beautiful.
And, the thing I love about this case is that, depending on how this goes, it's such a perfect example of why you can't just have government, why you need to have other entities to pick things up, because essentially the U.S. just was all into this. They were all fully engaged and everything until they decided it wasn't an earthquake anymore, and then they're like,
"We're done. We're done."
Because that's their field of expertise. They don't have jurisdiction. They don't have domain expertise. But it's not like they have any responsibility to hand it off to the next party that should be looking into it. You know what I mean? And so that just makes me laugh.
I can see why. I can totally see why.
It'd be kind of like SETI like running into an alien on the way to dinner, and them going, well, no, we're not going to report this because you didn't come by signal.
Mm-hmm. I can see that. I'm not going to lie, John. I'm probably going to order Taco Bell up to my hotel room tomorrow night.
Good luck. Taco Bell places.
I am so Uber eating some Taco Bell. I am going to destroy some Taco Bell when I'm there.
Dude, I'm sorry, man, but in Las Vegas, Taco Bell is going to destroy you.
I hope so. God bless him for it.
Ladies and gentlemen, you will not see Dave the last day.
That's fine. We're good with that. We are good with that.
He'll finally be yelling, "I'll try some of that damn devil lettuce."
No. John, you have to have more faith in me than that, buddy. Got to have more faith. I can do this.
Man, if this was just about spice, okay, then it's a whole different ball game. I believe that I have a pretty good stomach for spicy stuff, but I think you go way beyond my capabilities. This is not about that. This is about the fact that we don't have the same quality restrictions that other countries have.
I know. This is why I'm so looking forward to it. Oh, hell yeah. I'm on the final commercial break before heading to Las Vegas in an hour and 27 minutes.
Dave, you ever been anywhere where they eat things that you don't want to eat?
Never.
It's an interesting experience, let me tell you. It's a very interesting experience. You find yourself weirdly asking all the time, like, wait, is there any dog in this?
Jeremy, Dave's going to be having a shit in the Bellagio fountain. Oh, goodness. John, it's odd too. By retracting it, it brings attention. If left, no one would question it.
Yeah,
unless
exactly. Yeah, because how often do earthquakes get recalled? What it got revoked because it wasn't like a quality earthquake. I mean,
could be.
How does that work? I'm surprised they even had a function to delete. Like, it seems like that would be like when you were coding that, you'd be like, it'll be adds and moves, adds and moves, adds and moves.
All right, I want to say a big thank you to Dragonelle, Ghostly, Samantha, Michael, Bones times 1, 2, 3, 4, Thomas, Black Dragon, Big Dog, Vaughn, Catfish times 2, Ghostly again, and Cindy for the amazing super chats tonight. Very much appreciate the love and support. Good morning, Stephen Finnegan in the UK. And reminder, there will be no shows right through Tuesday. If I get home early enough Monday, there will be a show. But I don't know what time I'll be home. I'll try my best, guys. But we're even giving the weekend crew the weekend off here to chill out, relax, and enjoy as well. So let us, I don't know, start the final half hour here. Think? Yeah, let's do it. We rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on with the unbiased UFO report. We got the fedora-wearing John Hudson hanging on out with us, and his scientific UFO man crush, Gary Nolan, makes another play for a big podcast with Kurt J. Mungel's Theories of Everything. What's going on there?
Yeah, well, I think everyone figures, if the UFO patent dude can survive, he's clearly safe for the rest of us, So one thing I will confess is that everything I'm about to talk about, I could probably talk about for 2 hours, and I think all of it happened in maybe the first 20 minutes or 30 minutes at most. So there's a lot more to this, and I'll cover more of it later, but I just want to make it very clear. This is actually a very dense interview. There's a lot going on here. So essentially, it starts off right off the bat, right into the weeds. And what we end up seeing is the actual piece. And I don't know how hard it is for you to pull that up, Dave, but this is the actual part from the Aztec crash, the part that the two kids hid under the barn that eventually came into Jacques Vallée's possession. It's a rather large piece. It's very utilitarian looking to me. It actually looks like something we would make. However, at that time, we did not make anything like this. And so it was a very interesting conversation, because not only did you get to hear some about what they were doing with it, but you got to hear about some of the kind of cultural idiosyncrasies that happened within that group. For example, Dr. Nolan admitted that essentially that there's a group of them that get together to talk about this device, this piece of material. And whenever they do, if Jacques comes, he brings the piece with him, and they set it in the middle of the table between all of them, and they stare at it. And they don't do anything with it, because you can't, because you're not in a lab, but they somehow feel that having it there helps them talk about it in some weird way, which, who knows. And I just love it when little things like that come out in people's stories. That just seems like just so human. And so, but then he also went into another piece the San Augustine piece that was something called I guess they were calling like a honeycomb or an alien honeycomb. It was a very odd. I remember seeing pictures of it at one point, but I didn't have any here. And basically, it turns out he was actually breaking this news right then on Kurt's show that there's going to be a paper coming out soon, that they completed their analysis and they found out that honeycomb structure was completely man-made. It was actually a known but forgotten Air Force manufacturing process that was used in the 40s. And it turns out all that material is absolutely man-made, and they can explain all of it. And there'll be a paper coming out. And so I really like the fact that, right off the bat we have this really good example and this really good part that has a tremendous amount of research value. This part that Jacques Vallée has, and then immediately we go to this other case that probably meant a lot to a lot of people. And it doesn't mean that there are other aspects of the case that aren't valid. It could be that there was a U.S. plane there that got damaged, and I mean, nothing's black and white, right? But it was cool to see this kind of right off the bat, this case where we still have something that needs to be explored because it's really weird, and then we have this other case where no, actually we were able to use good science and figure out that fail it and pass it on and keep going, right? Let's not waste resources on things that we don't need to. And so that was just, that's how real life works. And so that's what I want to see, right? Because when I don't see this, I know people are manicuring their output, right? Because this is reality. This is what really happens, right? You get these kind of flip-flops back and forth. But where I thought you get a little more interested too is the fact that pretty quick off the bat, Kurt started asking about biological samples, and my initial expectation and based on Dr. Nolan's initial reaction was that he was going to push back quite a bit on this topic, or he was going to drop something that blew my mind. But essentially, it turns out that he did actually look into the biological evidence. He was actually offered some. He did actually receive some. He believed it was all part of some of the implant removal processes that have occurred. The problem he had was that after he got a hold of it, he discovered that he could not establish any chain of authority on it back to the human. And he couldn't find any release papers on that human's tissue being available for public study. And so essentially he started looking for that, and he got into a position where he had to send that material back, and he hasn't been able to accept any other material. And he said, it's a real shame. He said, because he goes, I'm actually better at biological material than I am metals. He goes, biological material is actually my specialty. He goes, but I haven't been able to find any biological material from anyone because I can't find any that has a clean enough chain of authority all the way back to the human, and we have releases signed by that human. In some cases, those humans are dead now, and so we'd have to get their families to sign the release. It gets really complicated really fast. So you need samples that are really clean and well tracked. And I was really surprised that he had clearly put as much thought into it as he had, and clearly tried to do this kind of analysis. And while he's making tremendous progress on the other side, doing all this work with Jacques Vallée on the biological samples, for the time being, he's somewhat stumped.
Do you think it's because he only has a limited amount of samples?
No, it's because of things like HIPAA. You can't have pieces of people that you don't know who the person was, and you don't have the release saying you have permission to have my body part.
Boy, that is quite a conundrum. Here you're sitting on all this major mystery, and you can do nothing about it.
You not only need to be able to establish who donated it, that it was retrieved legally, that you consented to its removal, and since that removal, every single point in time has been tracked and accounted for, and there's no shenanigans going on.
Wow, that's difficult. That
But
is very
that's what you need in any kind of court case.
true. True. And the one thing that we should tell people about Dr. Gary Nolan, I mean, this is a gentleman who just isn't a mad scientist chasing around UFOs or ET contact. This is a man who's very highly respected at Stanford University, where he is a professor and a doctor. And
Oh
he
yeah.
is,
He's also the founder of several companies, and he not just doesn't work at Stanford. He runs a lab that's actually called the Nolan Lab, and he has his own people, and he gets his own funding, and he's kind of like his own little world. It's kind of nutty.
yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. We're dealing with a pretty brilliant guy here who is putting a lot of his own time, effort, and money into trying to solve the scientific side of the UFO phenomena. I mean, this is just, it's incredible what he does. It really
And I
is.
should point out it is, and I should point out that, and this is the funny thing how reality works. Remember that crazy little alien, miniature alien thing that where he analyzed the DNA of it, right? I can't remember the name of it, but it was like this little baby from down south, and it turned out to be, he believed it to be human. Well, it was his work during that turned out with a result that no one was happy with, right? But it was still a good result. It was that work that he did that then Jacques Vallée saw that caused Jacques Vallée to reach out to Gary Nolan and started that relationship. So the whole reason why we have Gary now doing all this work for us is because of that first case with the DNA. So it shows you got to follow every path. You never know what might turn out.
Very true. Very true. Did he detail any documentation or anything on experiencers whom he has got written permission from?
I don't know that. Like I said, I didn't actually finish the interview yet. So that's what I'm looking forward to tonight. So I don't think he did, because the thing is that even when someone does do that kind of release, I don't know, like in a lot of cases, you really want them doing the public. It just gets sticky really fast.
John, you're breaking up on us quite a bit here.
No, that's weird because I have my internet plugged in. I have no idea why. It's weird.
Hold on 1 second here. We're going to try and figure this out here. See if we can bring you back in here. And you're getting a little fuzzy on my end.
It's weird.
I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe the aliens don't want us talking about this.
I can log out and log back in.
No, we only got a couple minutes to go here with you. We'll fight it. We'll fight it here. We can do that. But it's funny that Gary is talking about this, because I know there are people who are very active towards pushing the United States federal government into submission when it comes to this topic. And they have been claiming to me, it's time for Gary Nolan to start standing up and going public with a lot of his findings, not just the outskirts of his findings, but getting into the heart of the matter.
Well, I think the challenge is, and I think we're seeing it now, is that look, science doesn't move at the speed of reality, right? And the time it takes to, this paper he did with Vallée that came out a while ago. That paper went through, I think it was 6 months or a year of back and forth with the reviewers. But it takes a long time, and for him, he can't really talk about anything until the paper is going to come out. It makes it really hard.
I hear you, but you know what? I wonder how the mainstream media is going to react to when this does come out. This is just, I don't know how they'll be able to do it. I really don't, because his studies are just so on par.
I really think the plan is just to do it so slowly that by the time it comes out, everyone's like, meh.
I don't know. I
And
really
that's what
don't.
happens with a lot of it, The only place people still get all, uppity is when you start talking about abductions. And that's because no one likes to be kicked out of their
That's
beds.
next. I know you don't like that topic. But that is next. It's coming.
I don't know anyone that says, I want to go again.
I would.
Yeah.
Totally would.
Yeah. You say that now, but you also said no when you had a chance. So,
Yeah. Well, hold on. You're confusing apples with oranges here, because
okay, I'm sorry. I apologize.
When I said no, it's because I didn't know back then.
Oh, okay.
But if I knew then what I know now, old Davey wants to go for a ride, man. Old Davey wants to go for a ride. Maybe it'll happen on my way going to the airport, because I got a long, dark, lonely drive through the mountains where there's not even cell phone service.
Dave, I got to be honest with you, man. If some group, Earth or not, grabbed you while you were in Vegas, that would make me laugh so hard.
It would be so kind of awesome. It would be kind of awesome. I'd be scared, but it would be awesome. Not gonna lie. Not gonna lie. The fedora wearing John Hudson. It is time once again for us to say good night to you. Another great episode of the Unbiased UFO Report. And thank you for keeping us up to date on your science crush, Gary Nolan, and his UFO work. And you know what? We'll say good night to you. And we're going to just keep on rolling here, because it's time for Shirky Poo's News. All right, what has Shirky Poo got for us tonight? Let's find out, shall we? The U.S. Capitol complex was briefly evacuated after what police said was a probable aircraft intrusion. The plane was carrying members of the U.S. Army Golden Knights who parachuted into the Baseball Nationals Park for an event. Yep, the Federal Aviation Administration issued a statement announcing it's launching a review into the incident after House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said Congress would review what went wrong, calling the FAA's apparent failure to notify Capitol Police outrageous and inexcusable. The unnecessary panic caused by this apparent negligence was particularly harmful for members, staff, and institutional workers still grappling with the trauma of the attack on their workplace on January 6, Pelosi said. Congress looks forward to reviewing the results of a thorough after-action review to determine what precisely went wrong and who at the quote-unquote agency will be held accountable for this outrageous and frightening mistake. Meanwhile, the U.S. Army said in a statement that it was reviewing all aspects of the event to ensure all procedures were followed appropriately to coordinate both the flight and the parachute demonstration. The evacuation suggests a concerning lapse in communications between the military and the U.S. Capitol Police, particularly against the backdrop of D.C.'s focusing on bolstering security since January 6th. The sky above downtown Washington, D.C. is restricted airspace, and the Capitol Police are on a hair trigger for any security threats, particularly aircraft-related ones following 9/11. Yeah, okay. U.S. Gold Knights, U.S. Army. Scott Perkins of the Bearded Butchers says the prevailing theory behind cattle mutilations is extraterrestrial activity. He mentioned it on Tucker Carlson. If this is true, the prevailing theory seems to be that some sort of extraterrestrial activity. Just given the facts, there's a lack of evidence at the scene, because one of the things that we employ at our shop is heavy equipment. We've got hoists and things, because if you have a bull, it could be 2,000 to 2,500 pounds. And even if you have an animal in the field and you want to just get into the other side to remove part of it, it's very difficult. You need a lot of leverage to move it around or to roll it around. Seth Perkins added that he does not think that a human would want to go to the actual work to perform these tasks. Human butchers, as skilled as the Perkins brothers are, increasingly less common in the United States, making them difficult to find, Perkins says. Someone who is not a butcher would butcher the scene, which would feature blood, tracks, and inaccurate incisions, he said. Learning where to cut and to penetrate a carcass to eviscerate it or look for a certain part takes months or years. If these animals have been found with these pieces surgically removed and not making a lot of hack marks when you're cutting, somebody knows what they're doing. His brother noted that livestock is butchered for its commercial value. Butchering is a difficult process. It takes about 12 to 18 months to learn. So there is no explanation why you would go through the effort just to remove a couple of parts, which frankly have no commercial value to them. Oh, the bearded butchers. They're on the side of aliens. A man who is a huge fan of extreme body modification has had his ears cut off so he can celebrate the end of COVID-19 face mask mandates. The sort of caper is an all-day's work for Michel Faro Prado, who has had so much work done to him. He has been nicknamed the Devil and is even referred to as Human Satan. Prado is covered in tattoos across 85% of his body and has had more than 60 procedures to change his appearance, including having one of his fingers amputated so his hand would look more alien. Yeah, he's not messing around. On top of that, he also has horns implanted into his head, has had his belly button removed, and has had part of his nose taken off too. However, his latest move has been to get his ears amputated, and it's, you know what? This guy's a weirdo. Ooh, scary, scary stuff. Hey, I want to say a big thank you to everyone tuning us on in, listening to Shirky Poo's News as we get ready to embark on an SOR vacation. We want to say a big thank you to the fedora-wearing John Hudson for the unbiased UFO report. He always looks so cute in his fedora. And, of course, to our main man, Swamp Dweller, for another great spooky story that has been hanging out with us. And to our guest tonight, Merle. Yep, Merle from the Paranormal Road Trippers comes in for Ghosts of the Great White North each and every month, and our special guest from Ghost Loops television show, Sean D. Austin. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Spreaker, Twitch, LGAB, Facebook, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night. That's good stuff right there. And we'll shut this down. Then I gotta unplug this thing. This one's going to Las Vegas. All right, let's close that down. Let's get Fedora back in here. Hey, Fedora. Hey, Fedora.
Hey there, Dave.
Well, I got banned for talking about aliens using underground bases to harm our children. The mods are powerful. We do have power. No, they're not power tripping. This is Daveudism. Daveocracy. They're following the guidelines set in stone by their host. Not banned, toned down. Thank you, Robert Garcia. Robert. I wonder if he likes Robert. Robert.
Oh, I can't roll my tongue. I've always wanted to.
We will, Alien Critter. Thank you. Oh, the Solaire account. It shouldn't be banned. We don't block people, Solaire. You may get timed out, but you don't get blocked. It's a 5-minute major. Everyone. Oh, the super chat is a wonderful way to support what we. Hey, I know that voice. There we go. Shake, senora.
So, how far do you have to drive to the airport?
I'm driving to Ashy's house. It's about 5.5 hours. And then it's about another 45 minutes to an hour, depending on traffic.
Wow, do you realize that you're driving almost as long to get to your airplane as it would take me to actually drive all the way to Vegas?
Yeah.
Mind-boggling.
No, you're further. No, you know what? You're right. By the time if you include my flight in, I'm a little bit longer than you.
Yeah. Oh, including the flight, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, definitely. Oh, yeah. Because I mean, I can do it, and everyone says 8 hours. If you really push it, you could probably do it in 6.5.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't stop, you rotate drivers and so forth.
Yeah.
Time your gas really carefully.
What the Sam hell am I doing here? Undo, delete. Copy. Paste. Are we good now? Oh my God. If we do get to the extraterrestrial highway, which there is a good plan that may happen, we will be putting stickers, spaced out radio stickers, on the sign. Hell yes.
Nice.
Hey, gorgeous Carol. Hi, stunning Paula W.
Hey, did you invite Jeremy Corbell?
No. He can show up if he wants.
Well, he's local.
I thought he moved to Arizona.
Oh, did he? Oh, he might have.
He was bragging about his $1.3 million property that he just bought.
In Arizona? Probably get half the state for that much. That's crazy talk.
Not now, since all you Californians have been moving up, driving up prices.
That's just prices here are going up so high that you can't help but sell. It's insane.
You know what? Vancouver and the Lower Mainland, where I used to live, have the third highest housing prices in the world.
Where is this?
Right now, Vancouver.
Where? Oh yeah. But that's because of all the it's partially because of foreign buyers.
Yeah. Hi, CE5 Kent. Chief Queef on Twitch. How you doing, buddy? Insane. The average cost for a house in Canada right now is $816,000.
But it should also be said that the neighborhoods that went nuts, like most of them were, at least the ones I was taken to, like they were actually nice. I mean, like they were nice, normal homes, nice, quiet, pretty neighborhoods, good weather. I mean, it was, you know, I mean, it's not like you weren't getting anything for your value, but the price was just going up like this.
Oh, dude, have you seen the subdivisions up here? You barely got 15 feet between houses now.
Don't you have zoning laws?
Yeah, they tightened them right up.
Oof.
Oh yeah.
Now, that's the whole reason why California prices stay high, is because no matter how bad it gets, we don't change anything. So you still can only build like a couple homes at a time. It largely spaced out. It's freaking hilarious.
Oh yeah.
Well, and the thing is, you get punished, right? Like if you do buy into something that's like some alternate thing, like some connected thing, you know, yeah, your value goes up, but not nearly as much as all your friends that are in normal homes. So like you end up doing everything you can to get out of it.
3 years ago, prior to COVID, the average house price in my area was under $300,000. Today, it's a hair under 500,000.
Okay. So how many years?
3.
And went up. That's cool. That's actually really cool. Yeah.
Not really, man. Not
well,
really.
it is if you have.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny in my area is all the middle aged people and the older people who owned houses in the Lower Mainland forever. You know, they cashed out 1.1, 1.3, 1.6, or whatever it may be. They moved to our area because the housing was cheap, and now the realtors here are having, you get these people who say bought houses for like $300,000, or and then played the pricing game, maybe in a bidding war or something like that, and now they're all at least half of them are mass exodusing out of our town because they couldn't handle the winter.
That's
so
awesome.
They just lost like a ton of money because they couldn't handle the winter.
That's awesome. So the house I grew up in, my grandmother bought in 1973 for $27,000. $27,000. We sold it in 2016 after she passed away, and we sold it for $2 million. So 27 to 2 million, but you're talking 30, 40 years, right? So a long time. So this nice doctor who was a doctor at El Camino Hospital, which was cool because the house was right down the street. So it was a good location for him. And really nice guy. And so he buys the house for $2 million in 2016. Now it's worth 3.7.
Wow.
So since from 2016 to now, it's gone up $1.7 million, and he hasn't done anything to it. I mean, if you believe like the tools, like the Zillow type tools, according to them, houses in my neighborhood went up 300,000 like last month. Like nearly every house just went up 300,000 for whatever reason.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I know in Vancouver, the average median salary in Vancouver is like $24 an hour. I believe. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong on that.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the problem is that, like, I mean, I don't know about where you live, but here there's really there's really it's really a two-class system. And the reason why it tends to work is because there's not really any animosity between two groups, and they usually marry into each other, so it doesn't really matter. But essentially, there's the people that work in tech, and then there's the people that work in normal jobs. And for the people that work in normal jobs, I assume they get normal pay. I assume. Although I did notice that, like, the McDonald's near me is paying like something nutty, like I think they're offering $20 an hour, which is like, it's like close to $40,000 a year. That's not bad for flipping burgers. But what it means is that essentially when most people come out of college, or they drop out of college and they start working in the Bay Area, you know, starting salaries are going to be, you know, close to 100,000, and but starting salaries for like everyone else is going to be down in like the $30,000, $35,000, $40,000 range. So you end up with these two vastly different systems that end up occurring.
That is very cool. Bear with me, Johnny. I forgot while I'm waiting for this to download, I can be disassembling my laptop. And which one is it? Hope that one didn't affect anything. That should be the laptop cord. I hope. Yeah, no, it's not. I don't know what I just unplugged here, but we'll just plug it back in because it's just safer that way.
But yeah, the money's pretty obscene in the Bay Area.
That's the one. That's the one right there. Hi, Super John.
What's up, man? Yeah, you would not believe what some of us make around here. It's insane. I mean, not me right now, but you know, hopefully soon. Man, I love the fact that I can get 4K nature streamed now to my TV just randomly, like with my Apple. Like, some of it's so pretty.
$4K what?
It's like it basically, it's a screensaver for the Apple TV. Is all it is. But now that it's all like 4K, it's beautiful. I mean, it's like, it's incredible. And if you have a newer TV, like I have an OLED TV, so like the colors are, I mean, it's like having a window in your room. It's weird.
You're addicted to technology.
I used to be. It's hard to say. Like for me, it wasn't that technology made me happy from the point of view of like a status symbol or a possession point of view. For me, it came down to I wanted to buy products that were difficult to make. That's what meant to me. I wanted to buy technology that I understood was very challenging and very difficult the problems were very difficult to solve. And so from that point, that aspect of it, I still do geek out on. Like I love, like like for example, like what's like an example? Oh, like if I have to buy like a pocket knife or something, right? Like I'll take time and I'll research it and I'll get like a pocket knife. Like I have one with like the wood
Yeah, they
in
have
it.
pocket knives with Wi-Fi now, right?
Oh, neat. This one, the wood in it is from like a 3,000-year-old oak. The handle's made from a 3,000-year-old oak, and then the blade is done in the Damascus style. And oh God, the thing is just so gorgeous, so pretty, so well made.
I like Penny's comment. I don't like the 4K on our TVs here. I can see the blackheads on an actor's face. That
And
is
what I don't understand about that is that like there's 4K porn and there's 4K movies and there's 4K TV and there's 4K YouTube, and you don't see that stuff. So are they not eating well? Like, why are they getting all these skin problems? That's what I'm starting to wonder.
It's makeup.
Yeah, probably really, really high quality makeup.
All right.
But it definitely, I mean, if you start moving up to 4K and then 8K and so forth, it does, well, just like with when we first started doing HD, it does change the way you watch, it changes the way you consume television. You could get away with a lot of crap 640 by 480. Oh God, 480 interlaced.
Goes.
I can't believe 480. We actually lived on 480 interlaced.
Getting wound up. Keep going, John.
480. So upsetting.
Pretty soon we're going to be sounding the tech siren. Woo! John's like, shut up, Dave.
No,
Shut up.
I'm just trying to think of like exactly how bad it's got to be for it to be a really like a 4-alarm fire sort of situation.
Well, you think about that. I'll be right back.
Thing is, I have such fond memories of older tech that I don't recoil from it like other people do. Like, I would love to get my hands on like an OS2 warp machine. Probably get a VM with OS2 warp. Come think of it. Great chess game in that one. One of the first OSs to support OpenGL. That was cool. All right, folks. Anyone got any questions? Hey, Dave's gone, so we can talk about him. What do you want to know? Oh yeah, totally wrong. Yeah, did any of you ever play on a ColecoVision? That was a crazy system. ColecoVision was cool. I had an Atari 400 with a tape drive. And I used to sit there on Saturday mornings and write like code like for hours. Not really writing, copying code. And then you get to the end and you hit enter. And if you did one thing wrong, you get nothing. If you did it all right, you get like a red barn. And you're like, yeah. And then you kick it and you grab your bike and you go to the park and meet your friends. Atari 2600. Problem with 2600 was it the I mean, God, man, what was that? Did you get these pixels that were like, I mean, basically like in Pong, like the freaking ball was like all like a megapixel. That was the one cool thing about that movie. Was it Ready Player One? I think it was. You get to see all that old stuff. That was neat. I miss arcades. I'm not sorry they're gone, because I don't see how they'd work today. But for the time that they were available, oh man, I miss going to arcades. I miss spending like the whole afternoon. It was so much fun.
Good arcade. Those were the days, man.
Well, the thing that was really sad was that, for when the arcades started kind of falling away, there was a small resurgence of like full immersion type stuff, like where you get into like a pod and you like fly a plane or something. And the places like popped up all over the place, and they all tried the franchise, and I don't think they sold many franchises. And from what I gather, even the ones that were in like really good locations eventually like gave up. Like it never really took off. I mean, there used to be a place near here in the Bay Area that was like a flight sim, and it was crazy. You got into a pod, and this pod lifted up off the ground, and it was full movement. I mean, people were getting sick, and it was highly competitive. Just landing on the
Tomcat like that.
Say again?
There was one with an F-14 Tomcat.
I think it was. I think we were flying Tomcats then. I think that's exactly what we were flying. And just landing on the aircraft carrier was. I mean, if you could land on the aircraft carrier, you were like a freaking god. And boy, man, it cost a fortune. And boy, we used to play there so much. And then over in Walnut Creek, there was a Mech Warrior Center. And that was cool. They didn't move around, but it was like just rows and rows of like giant boxes that look like mechs that you'd get into and close the door, and you had like pedals and joysticks, and you could reprogram everything. It was awesome. So much fun.
No show tomorrow night or Friday.
What are we gonna do?
Have fun in Saskatchewan. Give us a wave while you're there, because we'll be able to see you. I'd like to see John in Saskatchewan. That would be funny.
I've been. I think I've been. I'd have to check. But I think I've been. I did a tour across Canada where I was the speaker for a bunch of VMware events. And so they flew me from the West Coast all the way to the East Coast, and so I would stay in each city for like 3 or 4 nights, give a couple talks, and then they take me to the next city. And that was cool too, because I didn't know about the fact that the Fairmont hotels actually came from Canada. And I didn't know that all the original Fairmont hotels in Canada used to be train stations. So they put me up at a Fairmont at each city I went to. So I got to stay in the Fairmont hotel of each of the major cities. It was paradise. It really was. It was absolute paradise. I had so much fun.
Very cool. Very, very cool. Very cool. Where are we here?
Yeah, Monkey Island. That was a good game.
I
What
still
about
like Donkey Kong.
Donkey Kong? What about anyone remember Loom? Loom was on the Amiga. The Amiga was another good system. That was a one-off system. Didn't survive. The Amiga was neat. That was back when certain systems could kind of define themselves by like coming out with like a really advanced sound card or a really advanced this or that. In the end, even Sega didn't make it. I mean, it's really just PlayStation and Microsoft. Kind of crazy. But I will admit, they both put out really, really, really nice hardware for a incredibly cheap price. Especially like when the units like first come out, because they have to stick them full of gear that will still be pretty bleeding edge in a couple of years. And so when you buy it in the beginning, man, you're often getting more value than you're paying for.
Excuse me. I'm trying to figure out where my travel hat is. I don't even know.
Travel hat?
Yes. I always travel with a ball cap on. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I always travel with a fedora on. Surprise, surprise.
Mm-hmm.
It's great for sleeping on the plane.
Oh,
or
yeah.
the train. Or the car.
I'm sure it's here somewhere. Oh, well. Oh, well.
Oh, hey, since my chances of getting to Vegas are still possible but draining quickly, I wanted to know, like, have you been there many times?
Yeah. I haven't been since 2016.
Okay. All right. So do you know how to find the single and double deck hand-drawn poker rooms?
Yes, there's an app for it.
Okay. Like, because basically, like, I mean, I know sometimes it's just easy to play on a shoe because it's in your hotel, but you really should not ever play on a shoe. Kind of a horrifying concept. For a while, there used to be these station casinos, like the Palace Station and then this Boulder Station, I think it was. They were kind of like neighborhood casinos. Those were the casinos I like to go to because they actually had proper poker rooms where, like, I mean, it was like, you could find single and hand-drawn blackjack and like really good, like, and also fun people to play cards with too, like nice folks. Oh yeah, just like, yeah, man, cool. To me, like, that's the only thing, like, I always worry about people knowing how to find if they're, if I know they're a card player and they're going to Vegas, is that if I hear later they're like, that they were playing on shoes the whole time, I'm just like, just makes my stomach turn. The one thing I haven't started playing yet that I want to learn is roulette.
I can't figure out craps.
Craps is another interesting one. What I like about craps and roulette, but what I really like about craps is craps completely relies on something that technically doesn't exist. And that is trends of luck. It doesn't work without that. Like, you must have trends of luck for that system to work. And technically, we don't really have any proof or evidence that exists. And so I just find it very funny that, I mean, it's different. Like in blackjack, yeah, that's a factor, but it's not like the whole game, And with things like craps, like, that's it, man. That's like the whole thing. It's all about, like, oh yeah, Myst was a great game. So pretty, so beautiful. Well, Myst in VR now. It'd be awesome. Have you tried your kids' VR yet, Dave?
Oh yeah.
What do you think?
I like it. I mean, there's certain things I can't do. I get sick,
Yeah,
but
but some things you can.
stuff on there.
But there are a couple of things you liked.
Yeah.
They do have fishing games. If that's more your
Yes.
style, you can just fish
I like the fishing games.
in VR.
John, I hate to cut them off. I hate to cut things off, but I gotta go.
Yes, you do, sir.
I gotta
Yes, you
catch a
do.
plane in 11 hours.
Bon voyage. Travel well.
I will. I will. Before we go, I want to say thank you so much to Bones ×4, Ghostly Adventures ×2, Sydney, Catfish ×2, Vaughn, Big Dog, Black Dragon, Thomas, Michael, Samantha, and Dragonelle for the amazing super chats. Thank you for a wonderful week. Thank you to everybody who supported Vegas. If you cannot make it this year, next year, May 12th to 14th, we will be doing it at the Golden Nugget again. We want to see you there, and we're going to make it just much more fun. This is just a learning experience this year, and next year we hope to make it bigger. But thank you, everyone,
Just
for your
watch. You'll all
love,
get abducted.
and hopefully we do get abducted, and we'll see you soon, guys.